Good. Okay, if I can have your attention, please. We're about to get started. If we can close the back door and any side doors that are open. Thank you. And please silence your cell phones again. We're about to get started, so if we're going to have conversations, you could take the conversations outside and come back in. We need to conduct business. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We are on the record. Today is the 24th day of January in the year 2024. This is a regular meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had a scheduled 6 p.m. start. The clock on my cell phone is showing 6:05 p.m. May we have a roll call for the commencement of this meeting? Councilperson Ridley.
Here.
Councilperson Prinzeri. Councilperson Baggiano.
Here.
Councilperson Saleh.
Here.
Councilperson Solomon is not here. Councilperson Gilmore is not here yet. Councilperson DeGise.
Here.
Councilperson Rivera, not here. And Council President Waterman. We have,
Rivera's here.
Councilperson Rivera is here. I'll mark him present at 6:06 p.m. So we now have 7 council members in attendance at 6:06 p.m. Can we kindly rise for a moment of silence, please? Thank you very much. On behalf of Council President Waterman and the members of the Municipal Council, in accordance with the New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the posting on the bulletin board of the first floor, City Hall, the annual notice, which is the schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2024, and filed in the office of the City Clerk on Thursday, November 30th, 2023. In addition, at its time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, January 19th, 2024 at 4:33 p.m. to the mayor, municipal council, business administrator, corporation council, and the local newspapers, and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. I see Councilperson Gilmore here, and I'll mark Councilperson Gilmore present at 6:08 p.m. So we now have 8 council members present at 6:08. Okay, our first order of business. There are 2 additional speakers added to the agenda, which we'll get to at the end before we started, and they'll be speakers numbers 81 and 82. So we're on to our first reading ordinances. First reading ordinance, item 3.1, City Ordinance 24-002. Which is an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 3, Administration of Government, Article 11, Department of Public Safety, Subarticle 1, Division of Police of the Jersey City Municipal Code.
Thank you, Sean. The administration is going to withdraw this item for consideration tonight for first reading. We did have a presentation by the director, Shay, and there's been a lot of feedback from the council on wanting to create potentially a subcommittee. I spoke with Councilwoman Prinzeri, and we're going to withdraw it, work with the council and re-present it. There might be some material changes that we'd have to reintroduce anyway, so it's best that we just take it off the for the vote tonight.
Okay. That being said, that will be withdrawn. 3.1 is withdrawn. Item 3.2, City Ordinance 24-003 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, amending Section 332-9, stop intersections to designate the intersection of West Side Avenue and Pavonia Avenue as a multi-way stop control intersection. Okay, council members, so I will only be taking a vote on item 3.2 since 3.1 has been withdrawn for introduction. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye for introduction.
Councilperson Bajano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye for introduction.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye for introduction.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
Council President Waterman. Item 3.2 is introduced 8-0 with Councilperson Solomon absent. Council members, we have no second reading ordinances, so we're going to move on to our public hearing requests. Before we move on to that, I just want to state for the record that I know that, when you come up, it's a very passionate, we're all passionate about the subjects that we're speaking about. I just want to make sure that we're all respectful to one another. If you're going to applaud, please wait until the person is done speaking, and then you can applaud afterwards. If you applaud when the person is speaking, you're just using up their time. So with that being said, council members, you want to make a statement before we proceed?
Yeah, Councilman Soleil and Councilman Bogiano want to make a statement.
Sean,
Okay.
all right?
Very good.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank Councilman Soleil and Councilman Solomon in meeting with me and the Recreation Director, Lucinda McLaughlin, about the ice skating rink. We support the communities and recreation's requests that a new ice rink be installed. We should partner. However, if the ring is used by people in other parts of the county, we should partner with Hudson County, and Hudson County should get involved and help the cost of this new ring. New Jersey Devils is already partnering with us at Loews. They're getting quite a bit of money from us. They should partner with us on our ice rink. How can we have the New Jersey Devils in a city with no ice rink? We need to act now on accessing the $1 million grant secured by Senator Angela McKnight to utilize for a study. John, can we have a dedicated city agency or person that can work with recreation on this study? John, could you answer that, please?
I just want to put on the record that this hasn't been an administration versus recreation versus council initiative. The director, McLaughlin, had presented to us that there were significant issues with the ice rink that were beyond repair, or we could decide to dump potentially millions of dollars into a repair that may not have the longevity that was worth the investment. So the discussion was that it needs a soup to nuts type of reinforcement and reconstruction. And then the discussion was, how large is that footprint? Do we redo the existing roof, the locker rooms? Is there other ideas for the exterior? So that was kind of the conversations we had about doing the study and how far reaching it would be. We do understand what we need as far as designing the actual ice rink, the requirements for the refrigerant and all that type of requirements. So the feasibility study is going to say, if we allocate the upwards of the $5 million as it's been discussed, what does that enable us to do as far as facilities in addition to the ice? So that's absolutely something that we're engaged in and reviewing. And we also are presenting a capital stack to the council next month, which will include the funding for some of these ice rink initiatives. And we have been in communications with the New Jersey Devils on potentially granting us some funds or programming once the new ice rink is open.
But John, can we get somebody from the city who'll be directly responsible and answer the questions to us that we need answered?
Yeah, so the process would be that it would be a project initiated by the Department of Recreation with assistance from Infrastructure, Director Patel, and they'll work with outside vendors. We don't have any professionals in-house that build ice rinks, so we would hire a professional agency and they'll steer us through the process. They can do presentations before council and we'll, we could do monthly updates or whatever the council desires.
As far as the Devils go, we're giving them, I believe, $30 million. I think they should be very heavily involved in this.
Thanks, John. Okay. Soleil.
Oh, yep. I echo a lot of what Councilman Bogiano said, that we definitely would like to hold a meeting with you, John Metro, the mayor, and Barca, Director Patel, and to move forward with using a portion of the $1 million towards getting a feasibility study as to how to repair the ice rink. We want to have biweekly check-ins with the community. And then the last item that we want to do is continue to set up meetings with Craig, the county executive, Uriah Ponte-Lipsky, and our New Jersey State legislative representatives, Raj Mukherjee, Angela McKnight, Senator Stack, all these senators. So the issue isn't done, and definitely like to partner with Councilman Bogiano on this and Councilman Solomon to bring the ice rink back to full capacity and what it used to be. And I'll share notes with the community at a later date from our meeting this week. I also have a proclamation that I want to present. If you would entertain me, okay. It's a proclamation for International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Whereas the city of Jersey City is proud to recognize International Holocaust Remembrance Day on Saturday, January 27th, Jersey City, New Jersey, and whereas International Holocaust Remembrance Day marks the anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau, the deadliest concentration camp of the Holocaust, and is a day to honor the victims of the Holocaust and promote Holocaust education globally. Whereas the Holocaust stands as an enduring symbol of the darkest chapter in human history, marked by the systemic persecution and genocide of 6 million Jews, as well as millions of others, including the Romani people, disabled individuals, LGBTQ+, Poles, Slavs, political dissidents, and others who suffered under the brutal regime of Nazi Germany. Whereas it is our solemn duty to remember the victims of the Holocaust, honor the survivors, and ensure the atrocities committed during this period are never, ever forgotten. Whereas Holocaust Remembrance Day provides an opportunity for reflection and education, encouraging people of all backgrounds to learn about the historical significance of the Holocaust and the importance of preventing such atrocities from occurring in the future. And whereas a society, we strive to combat anti-Semitism, prejudice, intolerance, and hatred in all of its forms, promoting understanding, empathy, and protection of human rights for all people. Whereas we recognize the resilience of those who endured the horrors of the Holocaust, and we express our deepest condolences to the families and communities affected by this tragedy. And whereas we stand in solidarity with Jewish communities in Jersey City, across the nation, and around the world, and honor the memories of the victims, and embracing survivors and descendants whose resilience and stories inspire us to combat hatred in all of its forms. Now, therefore, be it hereby resolved that I, Stephen M. Fulop, Mayor of Jersey City, do hereby proclaim Saturday, January 27th, 2024, as Holocaust Remembrance Day in the city of Jersey City. I urge all citizens to take a moment of reflection, engage in educational activities, and participate in remembrance events to honor the memory of the victims and stand united against anti-Semitism, hatred, and injustice. And to my knowledge, this is the first time proclamation's been issued for International Holocaust Remembrance Day. I do believe the United Nations is doing coordinating activities as well. And I'd be honored if I could present this on behalf of the mayor to members of the community.
Okay, Sean.
Alrighty. So we are now going to approach our public hearing request. So please pay a close attention to your agenda. I'll be calling the number and the first name of the individual. And with that being said, our first present speaker is 5.1, Hamel.
Good evening. My name is Hemel Vyas, and I'm proud to serve as an inaugural member and current chairperson of the Immigrant Affairs Committee. I'm joined by my fellow committee members, and thank you for supporting our appointments, but also to thank you for your leadership in prioritizing the integration of our immigrant neighbors. Our committee has worked tirelessly in the past year, and we are honored to present to you your annual report, our annual report. In our report, you will find a month-by-month record of our engagements with various immigrant communities, as well as our communications with your offices. While Jersey City is proud to be known as America's Golden Door, the dynamic landscape of immigration rules and migration crises make it necessary for us to be ever vigilant, a beacon as bright as a torch illuminating the great Statue of Liberty. For this, we are fortunate to have you, our elected council members, to champion the work of welcoming. You continue to support the work of Immigrant Affairs at the Department of Health and Human Services, which is still the nation's only health department to provide federally accredited legal services to our residents. You have joined us as Jersey City residents became citizens at ceremonies held in this very council chambers. You've honored so many national flag raisings and sought to empower immigrants who have come to Jersey City as their place of refuge, schooling, employment growth, and empowerment to work for the American dream that you've all witnessed become realities for your constituents. You are essential leaders in making Jersey City such a diverse, unified, and proudly American city. I stand before you to also share an incredible opportunity. Our committee has recently concluded a multi-month study of Jersey City's very unique linguistic landscape. As you may already know, nearly 42% of our residents are born outside of the United States. Per capita, that's more than New York and Los Angeles. Our committee has found blind spots and inefficiencies in non-English messaging that can be addressed. We've investigated what other cities are doing, how our non-English speaking residents prefer to engage and build, and we've received input from our own departments, especially communications. We've looked at the Immigrant Affairs Division at HHS and seen superb example of how to engage non-English speakers. They cultivated the best practices informed by other cities and harnessed the strength of trusted partners within immigrant communities. They were the first to mail out PPE with multilingual instructions, to send text message alerts in Spanish, Arabic, Urdu, Creole, and French, to establish a set of target languages that adjusts for linguistic overlap and English proficiencies, and to cultivate relationships with quality language service vendors. The payoff at Immigrant Affairs HHS has been remarkable. Not only did HHS employ refuse at testing sites.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have to move on to the next speaker.
Okay, thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.2, Stephen.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stephen DeLuca. Thank you for allowing me to appear here today. I'm an attorney admitted into practice law in New Jersey. I currently serve on the Immigrant Affairs Committee, as well as on the Board of Trustees of the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking. I also work with the Archdiocese of Newark to ensure all clergy employees and volunteers are screened and trained in the prevention of child sex abuse. The resolution that we are moving is resolution number 24-037. Human trafficking is the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person through the use of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of forced labor or sexual exploitation. It involves the exchange of money or something of value, and it takes many forms. The force, fraud, or coercion element is not necessary when it comes to sex trafficking of minors because they cannot consent to commercial sex. In New Jersey, it is considered a form of child abuse, and it's mandatory that we report it to DCPP. In New Jersey, labor trafficking uses violence, threats, lies, and other forms of coercion to force people to work against their will in many industries. New Jersey's agriculture and hospitality industries, along with a large number of undocumented workers, provide the perfect setting for labor traffickers. Jersey City is considered a major trafficking hub because of its transportation networks and large number of migrants who live here and pass through here. The first law passed in the United States regarding trafficking was the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000 and its amendments. The coalition worked with many stakeholders to create one of the first comprehensive statewide laws on human trafficking with the passage of the Human Trafficking Law of 2013. Since then, we have worked with various stakeholders to have these laws amended and updated at the state and federal levels. Both the federal and state laws established January 11th as Human Trafficking Awareness Day. Some 10 years ago, the coalition started a proclamation project seeking to have every municipality in New Jersey adopt a proclamation or resolution recognizing January 11th as Human Trafficking Awareness Day. Jersey City did that, and so did Hudson County. At this time, we are proposing another resolution before you today for Jersey City to reaffirm our commitment to fighting human trafficking. In addition, we have begun discussions about how to augment our efforts to fight trafficking here in New Jersey. With the anticipation of the World Cup coming here in a couple of years, we're also looking at working with the mayor and the city council and others to prepare for that as we anticipate an increase of demand during major sporting events. So at this time, we are just introducing the proposed resolution, and we ask that you adopt it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker, 5.3, Laverne.
Happy New Year to all. Next month is February, is Black History Month. And next month, I would like for this council to recognize a business on Monticello Avenue, right down the street from our council. It's a hair product place. It's been there. They be 50 years in this city. The father died, the son took over the business. And I think I went there today and I cried because to see the old pictures where they used to be on MLK and Atlantic Street, and they moved to Monticello, independent beauty supply place. And to be still standing in our community for 50 years, I think the father has passed, but the son, the mother's still alive, and the son took over the business. And I think we need to recognize them and have this city, this Jersey Journal and all this stuff to a business that still, with all this new beauty supplies, people coming in with different types of stuff, they still standing. They used to distribute to our local beauty parlors and barbershops, which a lot of them has closed up. I went there today and to see them old pictures of his father and the old building that they used to be on, you know what I'm talking about. So can you do that for me? Look into that and recognize them next month, their anniversary of 50 years and a Black business that's still standing. And I appreciate it if you can, Councilman, look into it for me and do something. And then the other thing is I have a problem with housing. I have some people keep calling me, 2 ladies on dialysis, living on shelter, and other ones living in Sea Caucus and the hotel for a year. They're about to put her out. She was supposed to go in the web building on Oak Street. The owner sold to the city, and now she's still having problems getting in here. She's on dialysis, born and raised here. Another young lady on dialysis, she was living with a relative that can't continue to keep her. And these are people that live here, born here, raised here. They did work, they couldn't help, they got sick. So I'm praying for you, I'll pray for me.
Thanks, Laverne.
Our next speaker, 5.4, Tina.
Hey guys, justice for Drew, justice for Drew. First of all, I just want to say I'm still going by nonprofits for our community. Our nonprofits is the foot on the ground in Jersey City. You already know Education in Gilmore because there was a fire here who you reached out to. Oh, community treasure. Anyway, I don't even get paid for that, but but yes, I just wanted to let y'all know that the nonprofits is really out there. Y'all really do need to form some type of board to help out the nonprofit. I can't do my paperwork. I can't share it and all that because I'm out there on the field of doing it. Last night, me and Edward went to Medical Center to drop off a basket. That baby was in the hospital for 3 days because the baby could not leave the hospital without a bassinet. They called me, who? Community treasure, and asked to get that bassinet and get a car seat for one of the other mothers. We made that happen. We bought that. And I was so happy because no mother should sit in a hospital and worry about how they're going to get home, how their baby going to get home. Before, first of all, we got to worry about our chest leaking. We got to worry about our privacy and stuff like that. We shouldn't be worrying about how we're going to get our baby home. It should be some type of team that's helping it out. But see, by me being in the community, they knew who to reach out to because y'all the big dogs right here. So I'm gonna have to move up and get them big dog seats right there because they knew who to reach out to community treasure. And I want to thank you, Chief Staff Erica, because we didn't have no water in my building. That's what I mean about leaders. Leaders mean I can call you and let you know what's going on in the community. You picked up that phone, Education of Gilmore, you picked up that phone. Jerry Walker picked up that phone, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Mira, for having that meeting. I said to y'all a couple of weeks ago, have a meeting with me. I'll let you know what's going on. I thank you for reaching out. Mr. Nice, I thank you for helping my son. My son had been going to 10 college, had reached out to him. I live on Oak and Martin Luther King. That was a big thing. You sent him a birthday. I couldn't afford for him to get nothing for Christmas. I couldn't afford nothing for his birthday. Education of Gilmore, you, Erica, E, they helped me out. I need help too, just as well as me helping out the community. If I can't help myself, I can't continue to help out the community. So I wanted to let them know. I want to thank y'all for our new building. Steve, he's doing his job there. That's a blessing for that. I just want to let y'all know it's a shame that the kids got to come here and not be in the field and skating and stuff like that. That's what I tell you about my Ward F. We need more resources. We need to be focused on these kids and not, I don't know what y'all focusing on. They should have been skating instead of being here sitting down tonight. Y'all need to start drawing up the board or doing something else, but that's okay. 2020, 25 is about to come. New beginnings, new year.
Our next speaker, 5.5, Cameron.
Hello, my name is Cameron in Ward C. And I don't have any real speech prepared tonight, but I'm here to say justice for Drew and ceasefire now. I don't know. Sounds like the situation with the mental health crisis program has been stalled. The public, so-called public safety, is not meeting with the community to talk about so that we can have a program that has cooperation. So I'm wondering what the council is doing to push them to the table. And also, this issue of the police compensation for, when there's big public events and stuff like that. I don't understand why the police department is the only department that gets extra money when there's a public event. We have something like, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but I know it's more than $100 million going into the police and something like 8 million or something for public safety. Isn't that misplaced priorities? We talk about we don't have money for Arrive Together, the mayor says, but you're putting all this money in the police. We need to invest in programs that help people, not harm people. You can't just, not help people and then when problems come out, try to hit it with a hammer. Also, I think it's extremely important for every single day in Palestine, more and more people, civilians, children, women, men, all innocent civilians are being killed. I think there's no hospitals left. They're all destroyed. What are you waiting for? It's time. I thank you so much to council members Gilmore and Saleh and Bogiano for supporting the resolution for a ceasefire. But it sounds like we need to put more pressure on the rest of the folks on the council to take a stand. You know, the majority of people in the United States demanded to see this war, genocide stop. And it's, I'm really glad that we're honoring the victims of the Holocaust. One thing that wasn't mentioned in that resolution is fascism. That was a product of fascism, and fascism is knocking on the door here in the United States. And the war in Gaza is strengthening the fascist forces here in the United States. So, you know, there's a genocide going on now too. There's genocide going on in Sudan. There's a genocide going on in the Congo. We
Thank you.
gotta fight them all.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.6, Daniel.
Good evening, council members, councilwoman president. Nice to see you guys. I came to see if there was an update on the Wayne Street conversion. Guess the only person that would be Mr. Solomon to respond. But the other issue I did want to bring up from the past meeting about the bicycles and the fees getting in place. I live downtown right here on Grove and Wayne, and one of the observations that I do make with cyclists is your traditional cyclists, the majority of them do follow the rules. The ones that don't are usually the ones with e-bikes and scooters. And those are the ones that go on the sidewalk, middle of the street, against traffic. And it's something that somebody's going to get hurt downtown. When you cross Grove, you got to look 3 ways before you even cross the sidewalk, the bike lane, and then the street. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Thank you again.
Our next speaker, 5.7, William.
Good evening, council members. I'm William Looker. This is my wife, Emily, my 2 sons, who, as you can see, play for the Jersey City Capitals. Emily and I lived in Jersey City for the past 8 years, and the boys have lived here their whole lives.
William, I'm sorry. Did you just come a little closer and just raise the mic so we can all hear you?
We love living in Jersey City, and in no small part due to the Charlie Hager Ice Rink at Pershing Field and the Jersey City Capitals Hockey Club. As our council representatives, I hope you realize how important and influential this rink is to so many people's lives, including our family, and the distress and anger this has been inflicted by the closure for over a year, which has totally disrupted 2 winter seasons. I know Councilman Bogiano and Councilman Solomon appreciate this, and we thank them both for their continued support. We understand the situation is complex, but the lack of communication or cooperation from the community since the rink closed is completely unacceptable. So far, we've been drip-fed sound bites with vague and inconsistent details, and that's if our emails and phone calls have been responded to. The story has also been changing. The council was confidently told at the budget hearing last August that the rink was expected to open by winter 2023. Then we started hearing that it needed $5 million to fix properly, a number which has so far been completely unsubstantiated and frankly questionable whether this is actually required or whether it's become an aspirational vanity project. At the very least, it doesn't seem to have been well thought through, as we're now hearing about a feasibility study using the $1 million grant from the Department of Environmental Protection granted in August last year, specifically for repairs, improvements, and upgrades to the rink. And now we heard earlier, I think, from John Metro that this could be tens of millions, so it's getting more and more vague by the day. Why has the city been sitting on this money for 6 months before considering a consultant? And what sources of funds are being explored for the shortfall? And where is the mayor in all this? He's been in office for 1/3 of the life of the equipment that was left to fail, and the issues that have been well known for a long time. It would be nice if he made a public statement to commit to reopen the rink like some of the candidates likely to run for mayor next year. I appreciate his priority may now be running for governor, but it doesn't give me much confidence that he can run a state if he can't even keep an ice rink open. Hopefully the strong attendance today demonstrates we have a passionate group of people who are not prepared for this issue to be swept under the carpet for any longer. We deserve more transparency and for our voices and opinions to be heard. So we urge you to get the real details from the relevant people and to support our request to establish an oversight committee with representation from the community where we can work together constructively for a positive outcome. And until then, we will be creating a lot of noise and attention.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Dawn, you want to reiterate? Let them know when they clap, we can't hear them. Please. When they clap, we can't hear what they're saying.
Yeah, so again, before I call the next speaker, if we can just
Yeah.
hold the applause
Right.
until the end of the person who's speaking, until they end their comments,
Right.
only because if you interrupt it and the person still continues to speak while you guys are clapping, the council cannot hear exactly what they're saying. We all know it's very passionate, but again, we just want everyone to be heard, okay? Thank you. With that being said, our next speaker, 5.8, Richard.
Honorable council persons, I want to talk about New Jersey Senate Bill 4132. I left a copy for each of the council people. That's to register and insure the e-bikes and scooters. The last meeting that I heard Councilman Gilmore and Borgiano were quite upset that we keep passing bills and there's no enforcement. Well, apparently this bill will have a great deal to do enforcement because the penalty for no insurance is $300 and the registration is $100. We have a lot of people who deliver our products from our restaurants to people, and we have a lot of people who are employed by using e-bikes. I think it is important that we have enforcement, but I hear we should have training before we should have enforcement. It came out of committee in December 14th of this year, and they said about 180 days later they were going to enact it. I don't know what the state Senate's doing, but it seems like we have a half a year before this comes to Jersey City where this will be enforced. We have a lot of people who are employed. We have people who can help them register their their bikes. We have the Jersey City Restaurant Association. They work with these people. They can help them. We can talk to the outreach programs like Team Walker. We can get the message out through committee to the community through Bike Jersey City, Safe Streets Jersey City. And I think we should have Director Shea give us some sort of plan. He's got 6 months at least to put something together. We have 4 districts with different issues. Downtown's different than the south and the east and the west. There'll be plenty of time to go ahead and do those things. We should get a contact from motor vehicle. When is this going to go into effect? Because it seems like if we stop somebody as a police officer and give them $700 of tickets and make them spend 3 court appearances for something they don't know about, it doesn't seem to be fair. If we educate them for 6 months, then enforcement will be less and we won't have the confrontations about going on. How would you like to get a meal that gets there later because they get stopped, their bike gets impounded, and everybody has a problem? There's plenty of time to work on this project. You got at least 6 months to do so. I don't know if this day is the right date, but I think we have time to at least look at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.9, Albert.
How are you, council members? I'm going to make I'm going to make this short and sweet. Okay, I just wrote a little note about Holocaust Remembrance Day. And then after that, I just have one little thing to say. Holocaust Remembrance Day serves as a solemn reminder of the atrocities committed during World War II. We must honor the millions of lives lost, reflect on the unfathomable suffering, and vow to prevent such horrors from repeating. It's a day to remember, educate, and stand united against any hatred, ensuring that the lessons from history guide us towards a future rooted in tolerance and compassion. And that would mean tolerance and compassion to all people, all religions. I have been up here, I think 3, 4 times in a row, just asking for the people of Jersey City to find some way for us to get together and sit down and let's work out our issues within this city together. Okay, whether it would be with the council members, without the council members, whatever is necessary. I'm always around. I can always be reached. And I just think that it's important that the people of Jersey City come together and just solve our unique problems together. The other thing I just wanted to mention is everybody's talking about the e-bikes and the bicycles and so on. I'm always on the pedestrian plaza. Last year, there was a police post on the pedestrian plaza with 2 officers on Newark and Grove, 2 officers on Barrow, 2 officers on Jersey Avenue, and a supervisor. That's gone. The police pulled that post. I don't know why. I don't understand why. It's dangerous when you see what people are doing. Halloween, with hundreds of people walking the streets and e-bikes and scooters flying about, it was really dangerous. Somebody is going to get hurt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.10, Jenny.
Good evening. Thank you for first of all, thank you for acknowledging our advocacy on behalf of the Jewish community. I recognize that speaking out on a controversial matter requires conviction, especially amid tension. It gives hope that open dialogue can truly make a difference in enacting change. Real change doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process of reevaluating the past and challenging unconscious biases. Steps have been taken, but I ask our city to continue to reflect on what more can be done to combat rising anti-Semitism here. Some points to consider. If an openly anti-Semitic comment is made in this room, it needs to be immediately condemned, and that individual could be asked to leave. When addressing anti-Semitism necessitates mentioning Islamophobia in the same sentence, it results in decentering from a valid concern. Please recognize the following statements, which I'll read in a moment, as anti-Semitism. These statements and others of similar nature have spread in our city, and they violate each aspect of the official definition of anti-Semitism outlined by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. Zionism is terrorism. This denies the right to Jews' self-determination and threatens the political movement essential for the security and liberation of Jewish people after centuries of persecution. Israel buys American politicians, perpetuates an age-old dehumanizing stereotype that Jews are tied to money and power. Long live the Intifada, calls for harm to Jewish civilians in the name of a radical ideology. It is right to rebel. Israel, go to hell, justifies harm to Jews by calling to eradicate Israel. These are some statements that have been seen around Jersey City on stickers and also seen online. Also, there have been calls for boycotts of Jewish businesses. Beyond being blatantly discriminatory, this holds Jews collectively responsible for actions in this happening in the state of Israel. I urge you to offer actionable alternatives to this political divisiveness, such as encouraging volunteering with refugee communities in Jersey City. I've volunteered for years in support of families from Syria, Afghanistan, Ukraine, and beyond, and I know there are some amazing nonprofits here. This and education in public schools to combat discrimination should be our priorities. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.11, Tony.
Good evening, Council.
Evening.
I want to start by saying thank you, Yusuf, for the proclamation that you delivered today. One of my favorite parts of that proclamation was to combat hate in all forms. And we just heard a pretty comprehensive list of the hate that needs combating within our community right now. It is interesting for me, as someone who has never been a part of the Jewish community, to come into this 3 years ago by marrying my wife, who is an Israeli Jew, and also to now have 2 daughters that are both Jewish. Growing up white and in West Virginia, I did not experience much hate at all. So I have a hard time understanding a lot of the hate that is required by people to be demonstrated in the ways that it has been. What I do understand is that there has been moments within this community where it has been asked of us to just ignore it or to be silent. And it rings very eerily similar to another point in the history of the Jewish community where they were asked to be silent as well. And if anything, what these hateful comments and stickers and the anti-Semitic arts and crafts show that has been on display in our community has done, it has made the community stronger, more mobilized, more resourceful, and louder, because I have 2 daughters that I will raise to know that if they see or feel anything that isn't right, they have the right to speak up about it. And I hope that they do. There was an experiment in around the 19th century where if you put a frog in a boiling pot of water, it would jump out. If you put a frog in a pot of water and then slowly dialed up the heat, it would not jump out. It would simply sit there until it got boiled to death. Now, while there's a lot of science that rebukes this particular experiment, the metaphor lives on as the inability to recognize the danger of something because it progresses so slowly that we don't notice until it's too late. There are parts of this community right now that are boiling, and I don't want it to become too late. Baruch Hashem, Emer Zerel Chai.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.12, Lynn.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. I want to start by expressing my deep gratitude to all of you for recognizing Holocaust Remembrance Day. Special thanks to Councilman Yusuf for spearheading the proclamation. It means so much. On my mother's side, both of my grandparents are Holocaust survivors. And on my father's side, they fled Morocco when it became unsafe for Jews. I never imagined that I would see a resurgence of anti-Semitism in our world. And the silence we are experiencing today eerily resembles the silence before the Holocaust. To remain silent in the face of rising anti-Semitism is to ignore the lessons of our history. The recent appearances of anti-Semitic stickers here in Jersey City might not mean much to some, but to me and the Jewish community, it represents something much deeper. One such sticker reads, "Globalize the Intifada." When I was just 13 years old, I lived in Israel during the Second Intifada, a time marked by a wave of terrorist attacks, suicide bombings in malls, bars, and buses. I remember one day when I was home alone doing my homework, I heard a deafening boom. A bus had been blown up a few blocks away from my home in a suicide bomb attack, claiming the lives of innocent people who were my neighbors. During that time, when the violence continued, every time I left the house, I wondered, will I die today? Seeing these violent stickers calling for the globalizing of the Intifada brings back those same fears. To some, walking by it may mean nothing, but to me, it signifies that there are people in the city who wish harm upon me and my family. You all know my beautiful 11-year-old daughter, Mia, born and raised here in Jersey City, who goes to Van Voorst Park to play with her dogs and play with her friends. How do you think it feels to have to explain to her what a sticker means that calls to abolish Israel when her grandparents and her whole family live there? What do you suggest I say to her? I proudly called Jersey City my home for 15 years now, dedicating a decade of that time to running a Jersey City blog. I was always so proud to live in a city considered the most diverse in this country, a city that stands up against hate and injustice towards any group, a city that welcomes people from every walks of life. And to be honest, I've been personally dealing with microaggressions since I started the blog 10 years ago because I'm Jewish. People blaming me for gentrification, putting up stickers, chickpea equals ISIS, attacking me online when I express sadness after the hate crime at the kosher supermarket. The list goes on. I could talk about this for hours. But the magnitude of the hate I've personally had to deal with since October 7th has been devastating and scary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.13, Jackie.
Good evening, council members. I'm here this evening to ask you to prioritize reopening Pershing Field Park Ice Rink after its closure more than a year ago.
Excuse me, can you just stop for 1 minute?
Of course I can.
Can you tell the?
Stop the clock?
Yeah, that's
I
not a
did.
problem.
Thank
Not
you.
a problem. You guys, listen up. Can they come up here while you talk? Let the kids come up here while you talk.
Now get a picture of this.
Jersey City's making history again.
It's a team camera.
You let me know when you're ready.
Let me get up.
All right. You ready for me?
Okay, yes,
Okay.
I'll let you start.
Studies have shown the impact sports have on children. Coming out of the pandemic, there has been even more evidence proving the importance of youth sports and recreation for children's mental health, showing children who participate in sports display higher levels of self-esteem, self-efficacy, and social support, and lower levels of depression, loneliness, self-degradation, and fatalism. Evidence has also shown the importance of providing access to multiple sports and recreational activities, especially for those living in cities and urban areas such as Jersey City. For the children you see here tonight, up there next to you, and for hundreds of others who are not here tonight, one of their sports is hockey. To play hockey, these children must have access to a rink that Jersey City has willingly let decay for the last year with no public comment on a reopen date, nor a plan for what's required. Meanwhile, this team, the local hockey team, is left to scramble, searching for ice across the state so their players can play. And for some families who I know personally, they have given up the sport entirely because driving hours upon hours a week for practice and for games is simply not possible. How shameful. How utterly shameful. The lack of progress and communication on this matter is unacceptable, and the children of Jersey City and the Hudson County area deserve better. The desire to fix Pershing Field Park Ice Rink has been displayed. The demand to fix Pershing Field Park Ice Rink has been displayed. The need goes unmet. How much longer? When will this community start to see a concrete plan with facts and figures instead of finger pointing and fabrications of costs? $5 million? Where did this number come from? Google? This community wants the Department of Recreation and Youth Development and the mayor to publicly post a concrete plan to reopen Pershing Field Park Ice Rink, which outlines the full scope of repairs and renovations, a timeline for the project and the budget, and any potential obstacles anticipated. It's time for answers and actions. And unless you do that, the fate of Pershing Field Park remains on thin ice. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good experience. Yesterday I had the Girl Scouts up here. I guess tomorrow will be the Cub Scouts.
Okay. Our next speaker, 5.14, William. William F.
Good evening, council members. My name is William Fong. I'm a lifelong resident of Jersey City, a former player and coach for the Jersey City Capitals, and a member of the Jersey City Fire Department hockey team. I'm here to speak on the importance of the Charlie Hager Ice Rink that is to this community and also the state of New Jersey. For the past few years, the Charlie Hager Ice Rink has sat in disrepair. This has forced the organizations that call the rink home to find alternative ways to get on the ice. This makes it difficult for them to practice. It makes it even more difficult for them to compete at the state level in which they play. On a more personal note, I have many fond memories of Pershing Field. I took my first steps on the ice with my dad, played my first hockey game with the Jersey City Capitals, played for the St. Peter's Prep team, where I was the assistant captain and we were the #1 team in the state. And I also play in charity hockey games with the Jersey City Fire Department. I also took my wife on our first date to a public session at Pershing Field. When I played for the Jersey City Capitals, I was forced to go elsewhere at the age of 10 because there was simply not enough kids to field a team. The Capitals have come a long way since then, now fielding multiple teams at each age level, from 8 and under all the way up to 16U, some of which have won league championships, putting Jersey City on the New Jersey youth hockey map. The longer Pershing Field sits vacant, the more likely kids today will be forced to go elsewhere like I was. Please take this into consideration, and thank you for your time.
Our next speaker, 5.15, Caroline. I believe she's not here. Next speaker, 5.16, Olaney.
Good evening, council members. My name is Oni and I am 8 years old. I am here because I love hockey and we don't have a rink to practice or play games. I feel mad, sad, and frustrated that our rink is still broken. Please fix our rink so everyone in our community can use it. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Great job.
Our next speaker, 5.17, Marty.
Good evening, council members. My name is Marty Cox, and I am 8 years old. It hurts my feelings that some kids had to quit hockey because our rink is closed. We had to travel far distances to play hockey, and our home jersey just feels useless because we don't have a home rink. I would like you to fix our rink so kids don't have to quit. Hockey and we have a place to play in our city. Thank you for your time.
I have to say, I'm always amazed at the young ones coming up in public speaking and having no issues with it. Totally amazed. It's great. Jersey City's great. With that being said, next speaker, 5.18, Jeremy.
Good evening, council members. Thank you. I'm Jeremy Battles. I'm a parent of 2 New Jersey Capitals. I'm here to ask that the rehabilitation and reopening of Pershing Field Park's ice rink, which has been closed over a year, as you know, be prioritized. Whenever I see something in the news or social media about Jersey City, it is almost always a splashy headline that touches on the themes of growth, progress, and investment. You cannot walk around downtown or Journal Square without seeing a new building development. The most recent splashy headline from City Hall from our mayor was that Bank of America is signing a 550,000 square foot lease in Newport. We have developments which have garnered international headlines and attention underway in Liberty Science Center with SciTech City and in Journal Square with the Pompidou expansion. And it's not just commercial and residential real estate investments, though. Over the last 10 years, Jersey City has built entirely new parks in Berry Lane Park, Coles Park, Fairmount Park, Bethune Park, and the soon-to-be Courthouse Park and City Hall Park right out back of this building. Businesses, institutions, and families are all investing in Jersey City. The sky's the limit. What's not a splashy headline, though, for Jersey City is Jersey City, up and coming, major international city, neglected lone recreational ice hockey rink to the point of disrepair. 1 year later, no changes, no plan. Kids who play hockey, good luck. Amidst all the growth, progress, investment, which are all great, all we're asking for is the city not let this ice rink slip through the cracks and that it be prioritized and get these kids back on the ice. I have a little extra time, so I'm going to read on behalf of Thomas, who is also Jersey City Capital, with like my 2 kids. The Pershing Field rink is very important to me because it is where I learned how to skate. It's where I learned to play hockey with the Jersey City Capitals. The rink is not just for hockey, but it's also for everyone that skates, wants to learn how to skate. We need a home base to play and practice. Please fix and open up the rink so we can all enjoy it. Also, a concession stand would be nice. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.19, Evan.
Hello,
My name is Evan, and I am a father of one Jersey City Capital player. You may look at me and think to yourself, that does not look like a hockey player, and you would be correct. I've never played hockey or shot a puck. I can barely skate, and yet I still agreed to coach my son Jalen's team. You may ask, how did we come across hockey? Well, I'll take you back to COVID 2021. I was at a Dunkin' Donuts and I saw a small girl with a lot of hockey gear on, and I asked, where does she play hockey? Her dad told me about the Capitals Clinic, and we signed up immediately. This was during the height of COVID, and we were thankful that we had a place to go and be outdoors. On the first day of the clinic, there were many kids that were learning how to skate, my son included. Some of them never left the wall, but my son did, and he proceeded to fall. He'd get up and fall and get up hundreds of times on the first day. His skating got better, but I never imagined it would get to where it is. Today, my son is on the second year of travel hockey with the Capitals. We're always traveling because we have no home ice. We play our home games on other people's ice. But Jalen is a gamer. He plays hard on defense and scores goals from time to time. He's a friend to his teammates, and over time, we've become closer to each other because of our shared hockey experience. Briefly, to describe our experience, I'd like to regale you with our dominating record, but that would be untrue. We lost more than we won, sometimes in preposterously lopsided affairs. You'd think that would deter our kids, but they keep coming back and loving the game. They keep playing together and they get better. And wouldn't you know it, they ended last season winning 2 out of 3 games, and this carried over to this season. I understand that success is not measured in wins and losses, but our kids have learned so much from their hockey experience. They've learned to practice and play together and focus on winning plays over winning. This will carry forth for the rest of their lives. So we have everything we need. We have a program, we have a team, we have kids that love the game, and coaches and parents that support the program. We have everything except what you actually need to have a lasting hockey program. We have no ice. Justice for Drew, thank you very much.
Our next speaker, 5.20, Philip.
Philip Carrington, Council President, welcome members of the City Council. I am Philip Carrington. Looking back in retrospect, I give you all a copy of a flyer evidence last week. And in that, I'm going to point some facts on that. Nowhere else in the world can a black man, follow the law according to their requirements and still have to pay a fine. In that flyer, it shows 2 exits. And that's what the law calls for. You could have an exit here, at least 2. The inspector said yes on the oath that the door does exist. And then went on to say no, the door does not exist. The Wicked Law Department certified the no, although they heard the yes. Nowhere else on earth, none of these children would accept a yes and a no answer to the same question. And so they certify yes. That's considered operating in bad faith. In the black community, it just means that they're lying like hell. The judge heard that, Judge Christine Varnett heard that, and they all approve the no. Again, you have to pay a fine for not having a door that you already have. Additionally, the next question is, you must have an access door to the basement. Again, in the picture, you have an access door. We raised the issue was raised. Do I have the door? The inspector said yes. Well, then I meet the requirement. No, you just said yes and no. Again, this is 2 yeses and a no to 2 different questions. And again, the Wicked Law Department certified the no. Again, the evidence is here and the statements is in the transcript. I'm not making this stuff up. And again, the judge uphold the no. Third, you must have called a Knox box, which is really a key box. The question was raised again. Do I have a Knox box? Yes. Well, I mean, requirement, no. You just said yes again and no. And again, so I'm paying fines for having something that I'm supposed to have, and they're saying that I don't have that. You always tell us to go to court and fight things out, which we did. I exhausted as far as I possibly can. And I can't get a simple answer. I give them a copy. They're not going to touch it. They're not going to answer because they operated in bad faith. But this is just as wicked as it possibly can. Again, I ask you all to go and look at whether you look or not. And anyone can challenge me. So you pay fines only because you're a black man. There's no white person in Jersey City will be fined for having something that they're supposed to have. It just does not exist. When you go to court, you need two things. Either the law is on your side or the facts is on your side. The law is on my side, the facts are on my side. The evidence is on my side, and they're lying on the oath. And all four things, I still lost the case. Steve Phillip needs to be removed from office. He's corrupt.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Our next speaker, 5.21, Julia.
Hey, there are 2 days during the year that commemorate the Holocaust. One is this weekend, and we're really grateful for the council, Councilman Saleh, and the mayor for commemorating this weekend. But this weekend's date is chosen because it commemorates when the Americans liberated Auschwitz. In the Jewish calendar, however, we honor those we lost in the Holocaust on Yom HaShoah. This happens in the spring, and it commemorates the Warsaw Uprising. We choose that date as a Jewish community because it's when Jews fought back against the Nazis. We fought back in the ghettos of Poland and refused to be taken away like cattle to our extermination. In the Hebrew calendar, we honor those we lost by remembering the legacy of the Jewish community who didn't wait for someone else to rescue us, but rather took our fate in our own hands and rose up to fight against the Nazis. We do this to remind ourselves for what is needed for our future. We fight for our survival. My children descend from Holocaust survivors. They descend from Jews who were ethnically cleansed from a variety of different countries in the Middle East. They descend from Jews who fled pogroms in Europe, and they are Jews who helped build the modern state of Israel to protect the Jewish future. They're Jews who continue to survive. We are now here in Jersey City, building what we hoped could be a good life for our children. Never in a million years when I was growing up in New Jersey would I think the phrase never again that was grilled into me as a child would be something that would be applicable to my life and my children's life here in the United States. But unfortunately, it is. We grieve now as a Jewish community over the resurfacing of barbaric violence that we saw on October 7th and the continued violence against Jews that has been emboldened by Hamas around the world. We have leaned on each other with the realization that many not only turn a blind eye to this violence, like the city has until today, but some people here in Jersey City openly support it, and they voiced that opinion right here in the council. As an Israeli, I'm not standing here today asking you to make any statements of support for Israel, because we don't need it to know that fighting for our survival is not only just, but is our only option. We're asking you today to support the Jews of Jersey City, because that is the community that you protect, and you should protect everyone regardless of their ethnicity. I'll fight for my children to make sure that they embody not the people who were liberated in Auschwitz, but the ones who fought in the Warsaw to make sure that we didn't go to Auschwitz. So here's what you can do. First, the anti-Semitic rhetoric that gets thrown on council needs to be called out. It's unacceptable, and it would not be tolerated if it was any other group. I encourage the city to bring forward a resolution adopting the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, and you need to address the anti-Semitic stickers that are constantly putting up around the city. I really appreciate everything you did today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.22, Philip. The other Philip.
Hi,
My name is Philip and I'm 7 years old. I'm here because I love hockey and I really want to ask for your help. My uncle used to play hockey and he taught me how to skate. It was so much fun. When I asked my mom if I could play hockey too, she said there wasn't a rink around with the team. But luckily she found the Jersey City Capitals at Pershing Ice Rink. I did learn to play there because it was easy for my family to get to. Now I play on the Mites team. Hockey means a lot to me. I dream of playing the NHL when I'm older. But I can't do that without an ice rink nearby to practice on. My teammates and I work really hard. We just need some more ice to perfect our skills. These teammates of mine have become my best friends. I don't want to see the team break up. We are very proud to play for the city and we want to win for you. Please help us rebuild Pershing Ice Rink. Thank you so much for your time.
Next speaker, 5.23, Leo.
Leo, come here. I'll just hold on.
Where's Leo? Where's Leo? Where's Leo? Leo, come over here, Leo. Come over here, Leo.
So cute.
Come over here. I want Leo. What you're gonna say from out here, okay? So come over here. Sit up here.
Hello.
Okay, so he's not going to be able to see the time, so we'll make sure we'll let him know.
Hi, I'm Leo and I'm Florida. I really love hockey and I need your help. I've been pushing, I've been important. My team isn't doing so good. We really want to win, but we need a lot more practice and ice time for that to happen. Please help us fix this so my team does better and win more things. Thank you for listening.
Councilperson Rivera. Councilperson Rivera, I think we might have found your replacement.
I don't mind that at all.
All right, our next speaker, 5.24, Tom. Is Tom here? Corinne? Tom? No? Next, 5.25, Jackson.
Listen up. Hello, listen up.
Hold on, guys.
Hold on. And just Sean, you know, listen, I think it's extremely important that these kids be heard, right? So if every kid that's going to speak tonight, I want you to come up here and you address what you want to address from up here, because I need the people to see you guys. You need to make it strong and you need to let these people know that you're serious. So you just come up here and address everybody from up here.
Okay. Now we're going to have a lot of replacements for Councilperson Rivera to choose from.
Good evening, Jersey City Council. My name is Jackson Charles Hager. I am 8 years old. As you can see, I play hockey for the Jersey City Capitals. My papa coached hockey for 43 years at Pershing Field. He was an important role model to many and sometimes a father figure for kids who didn't have a dad. My dad and uncles played hockey for many years in that rink. My mom, who grew up 2 blocks away, frequently skated with her family and friends. I would love to keep the tradition alive and follow in my dad's footsteps, playing and learning about hockey in Pershing Field. I'm sure members of the community would love to enjoy it as my mom did, learning how to skate in their own city instead of having to travel to other rinks. I hope I can skate again in the rink where my pop-up dedicated so much of his time that the Jersey City Council named it in his honor, the Charlie Hager Ice Rink. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's truly amazing. Truly amazing. Our next speaker, 5.26, Mary. Mary here? Mary M? No?
I think she's coming down, isn't it?
Oh,
That
I don't think she's here.
Okay.
I didn't see her. Okay, next speaker, 5.27, Rachel.
I don't know how I'm gonna follow that, but first I want to thank you for your show of support tonight with the proclamation. I still want to talk to you about standing up for your neighbors that feel unwelcome and unsafe in Jersey City just because they're Jewish. I am one of them. I have personally taken down hundreds, yes, hundreds of stickers with anti-Semitic messages that have flooded our streets. These are just some from only the last 2 weeks that have been removed. I won't list off the many messages of hate written on them because I know you already know what they say. But what I would like to do is describe how they make me feel. I'm a single woman. I live just a few blocks from here, and I walk my dog alone every day around our neighborhood. Since October, not a single day has gone by that I've been able to step out of my home without being reminded that I, as a Jewish Jersey City resident, am hated. I remove these stickers so I don't have to look at them. But every time I go to remove one of these stickers, my heart races. I look around and I wonder, will someone confront me as I do this? Will someone call out these hateful messages to my face? Will someone take my photo and post it? Will someone try to hurt me? This is real fear every single time, but I still take them down. Many of you have said there is no room for hate in Jersey City, and I do appreciate that, but no one has responded specifically to the onslaught of anti-Semitism that we're experiencing. Not without making sure to also mention Islamophobia. I know there has been several cases of Islamophobia here in the last few months, but you and I both know there are not hundreds of Islamophobic stickers being plastered around the city. If we wake up tomorrow to that, by all means, please speak out, condemn it, but that's not what's happening right now. Right now, Jewish residents of the city are facing hundreds of hateful stickers, being bullied online, being slandered by our fellow residents in these very meetings. That's why I'm asking you to condemn anti-Semitism in Jersey City, full stop. Not because hate of other kinds don't matter, but because this, specifically this, is an enormous problem in our city right now. In the last council meeting, it was said you don't want to amplify the voices of hate. Condemning anti-Semitism doesn't amplify the hate. It just lets the community know that you won't stand for it. For better or for worse, people see what you post on social media, and I can't comprehend why you feel a simple post condemning the significant rise in Jewish hate in our community would amplify anybody's voice for your own. I ask you to continue to stand in solidarity, like you said in the proclamation, with the Jewish community here. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.28, Justin.
Good evening. Jersey City, one of the most diverse cities of the United States, has failed Palestinians, Gazans, and its own residents. For months, we have demanded the City Council pass a permanent ceasefire resolution. In a vote before the new year, the Council did not pass a proposed resolution, with the majority choosing to abstain. I will remind this Council that choosing inaction is an act of support for Israel's rampant, hyper-violent genocide on Palestinians. In my last address, I asked on behalf of Jersey City residents for the council to reconsider and take on an opportunity to reconcile your grand mistake. I had hoped we could return from winter holiday recess with the council having finally chosen to join leaders and organizations across the globe who have answered the urgent call to action from Palestine. But here we are during Muslim Heritage Month with still no action from this council. What a shameful lack of conscience. 109 days of terror and bombardment, over 26,000 civilians dead. Of that number, over 10,000 children, equivalent to almost 18% of the population of children in Jersey City. Mass displacement of over 2.2 million continues. Nearly 85% of the entire territory forcefully moved out of their homes and land. 1 in 4 facing extreme hunger and famine. People do not have bathrooms, shelter, and many other basic necessities we are all entitled to. Aid sits in trucks in northern Gaza and at the Rafah crossing, ready to enter, but is blocked by the Egyptian government and Israel. Desperation is consuming Palestinians. With the collapse of the health system and the bombing of 26 hospitals, there are only 10 left partially functional. Disease threatens to consume and kill Gazans by the thousands. This genocide is a major women's rights issue as well, with women being left without menstrual care and birth support. Every day, at least 2 mothers are killed. Every day, approximately 180 women give birth unable to receive appropriate postnatal care. Miscarriages are up by over 300%. Israel continues its total power blackouts on Gaza, using them as opportunities to massacre by the hundreds while preventing coverage on the ground. 120 members of the press dead. I could go on, but that merely scratches the surface of the reality of what it is to survive in Gaza and Palestine. We demand answers. We demand a permanent ceasefire. We demand a return of the land, all of it, to Palestinians. This council will be disgraced with their inaction during a genocide that threatens to increase global conflict and kill thousands more. By choosing to do nothing, this council has the blood of Palestinians and their allies on their hands. Jersey City residents will remember this. Long live the Intifada.
All right, all right. Let's calm down. Let's calm down. All right. All right. Let's don't insult nobody. Okay, let's don't insult no one. That's what I'm saying. Let's don't insult nobody. That's what I'm telling them. Okay? All right?
All right. Our next speaker, 5.29, Anne Marie.
Good evening, council, and good evening, community members arrayed behind me here. I have 3 points. Firstly, we are grateful for your responsiveness. 2 weeks ago in these chambers, we asked to learn about a date for the next RFP Behavioral Health Response Planning meeting. And we heard back from your aide, Council President Waterman, and we received an email reply on behalf of the 3 councilors that you've charged with working along with the community and developing the gold standard plan that we've been asking for mental health and addiction response from 911. Secondly, the requested second meeting, we learned on Friday through email, will be scheduled either this week or next. We will hear about the scheduled dates for that next meeting, and we're grateful about that as well. We're pleased, thirdly, to work alongside Councilors Gilmore, Rivera, and Solomon and their aides, as well as Brittany from Legal and other members of the administration who sat down with us on December 19th, that very important first meeting. We were also very pleased that Nicola Flora, the executive officer of our Jersey City Police Department, was at that planning table. We felt very much that he listened, he heard us when we had that first meeting on the 19th. We believe in his intent to enhance public safety through involving community and community relationships, and that he means what he says when he said he wants to drive engagement with the community. This is so critical and what we've been asking for from July 2021, that collaboration, true collaboration from our police department, from our public safety department. Thank you, counselors. And thank you, community, because without your voices at all of these meetings, we couldn't have gotten as far as we did as Jersey City Together and other community groups who are working for this. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Anne Marie.
Our next speaker, 5.30, Evelyn. Evelyn, I. Not here. Okay. Say again. Next, 5.31, Miriam. Sorry.
Hi all again. My name is Mariam Kara and I'm a Pakistani American Muslim and a Jersey City resident. I'm here in my personal capacity again to demand our city council members reintroduce a ceasefire resolution. 2 days ago, journalist Bassan shared from Gaza, quote, "This might be our last call. We are dying. Gaza is completely collapsing." There were dozens of raids and 3 hospitals were besieged in Khan Yunis. Al Amal Hospital affiliated with the Red Crescent, Al Khair Private Hospital, and Nasser Medical Complex, the largest health institution in the Gaza Strip. People killed in the bombing were buried in front of our eyes in the hospital yard due to tanks blockading the streets. The wounded were on the ground without treatment, and there was not enough medical staff. Massacres are still being committed. We are facing hepatitis and intestinal diseases in the southern Gaza Strip and starvation to death in the northern Gaza Strip. End quote. Before I quote the next journalist, I want to tell you a little bit about her. Like many of the speakers we've heard from today, she's a sweet and brave child. She's Gaza's youngest journalist and her name is Lama. And when you're watching her videos and reading her posts, you can't help but be struck by how brave she is. At 9 years old, she doesn't flinch when she can hear military strikes. She doesn't flinch when she's speaking with other children who have lost limbs and can barely walk. She doesn't flinch when she sees adults around her jumping over one another to get to even a small amount of aid. She smiles brightly in every single one of her pictures and videos, and if she's scared, she doesn't let the world see it. On January 14th, 10 days ago, she shared, quote, "People all over the world live in warm houses, under a roof, under blankets. We live like this under tents, without water or electricity. These people want their basic human dignity and freedom. The children of Gaza are feeling cold. Please, world, stop the war." End quote. Every single day we choose not to take action poses an imminent threat to the lives of countless innocent Palestinian civilians and the remaining hostages. Be brave like Lama and bring back the ceasefire resolution to Jersey City.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.32, Mo.
Good evening. Good evening. It's day 110 of the genocide of my Palestinian people. And this is my 4th time speaking on behalf of my people in front of you all. That's 4 times too much, because I shouldn't have to show my face even once to ask that you be human beings by calling for this killing to end. Aren't you embarrassed by the fact that you can't physically get yourselves to unanimously agree that these nonsensical murders need to stop? You're literally embarrassing this entire city that shamelessly still touts its diversity while completely dismissing and dehumanizing an entire population of Palestinians. Shame on Mayor Stephen Fulop and Governor Phil Murphy for using the diversity of this city and the state as props to prop themselves up for votes, and then spitting in the face of diversity by allowing this to continue without a single mention of the Palestinian people. And I don't think we didn't notice that you brushed this under the rug after failing to pass the resolution last month. Do you find it easy to move on with your daily lives while 100 Palestinian children are being killed per day? More than 30,000 Palestinians killed in total, with 60% of them being women and children. And now they're moving into mass murder by starvation. And this is for you now, Councilman Saleh. I know it wasn't easy for you to pull together the ceasefire resolution and that you were met with many obstacles, difficulties, and constant verbal gymnastics to get the language on paper. So thank you for pulling it together and voting for a ceasefire last month. But I can't say that I'm not disappointed. As a Palestinian American, it should be your absolute duty to continue to put forth ceasefire resolutions as many times as humanly possible until all of your colleagues understand that Palestinian lives matter. This is your moment to shine as a leader, not only for your Palestinian American citizens, but for your most diverse city of Jersey City. And I'm telling you this as a friend and fellow Palestinian American brother of yours, that this is not my opinion alone. There's a large Palestinian American community that thinks that the ceasefire resolution presented last month was just a means to check off a box and then move on with our normal lives after it fails. And I find that unacceptable. I know your character, and I know that you're not one to give up, and probably are having a tough time sleeping peacefully at night, knowing that our city is not one of the exemplary cities calling for a ceasefire to end the killing of our very own people. So like I said, this is my 4th time here speaking to you all, and I'm sure you're all sick of me at this point. And respectfully, I'm here to tell you that the feeling is mutual, as I'm personally sick of coming here constantly requesting for you to be human beings. As you know, Jersey City's mantra is Jersey City, make it yours. Well, I personally can't make it mine, nor do I feel comfortable, safe, or seen or heard as a citizen in this city, as I've lived here for 17 years now. And I can't call it home, as I feel shame in this city that refuses to acknowledge Palestinian lives. Also, condemning the state of Israel is not anti-Semitism. In fact, tying Israel's genocidal actions with Judaism is the most anti-Semitic thing in existence. Ask the Jews that march with us. Please bring that back, the resolution, as it's the very least you could do at this point, and bring back the ice rink too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.33, Rima. She's not here. Our next speaker, 5.34, Mira.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to address the council. I'm a retired Jersey City public school teacher and part of a growing coalition of thousands of Jersey City residents calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. As we speak, the death toll since October 7th in Gaza from Israel's massive and relentless bombing campaign has reached over 25,000. Over 70% of those killed have been women and children. Amnesty International finds the intensity and cruelty of the current bombardment to be unparalleled. The New York Times reported that the pace of death during Israel's campaign has few precedents in this century. According to the United Nations and aid organizations, 2.3 million people face imminent risk of famine in the near future due to lack of food and water. With all the hospitals destroyed and no humanitarian aid allowed to enter, the World Health Organization has said that the healthcare system in Gaza has now collapsed. There are still 132 Israeli hostages and over 300 Palestinian prisoners held captive in Israeli jails without charge or due process, many of them children. Continued bombing by Israel with financial support and weapons supplied by our tax dollars has not led to peace, but instead has heightened tensions in the region and around the world. Some argue that Israel's military campaign must continue in order to destroy Hamas, but Hamas cannot be destroyed by military means. Hamas or its equivalents will persist as long as Israel continues to hold the people of Gaza in what Human Rights Watch has called an open-air prison, in a territory that the United Nations has called unlivable, over which Israel has maintained an illegal blockade for over 16 years before October 7th. The people of Jersey City are in anguish over what is going on. Their relatives and their fellow human beings are in danger or have been killed. A majority of Americans want a ceasefire, but our political system isn't responsive. Most of our officials in the state and in Washington don't listen to us. They are not being responsive to public opinion, which now says that 79% of Democrats are calling for a ceasefire. So, you, as our local elected representatives, need to magnify our voices, to get Washington to hear us. We are appreciative that Council members Gilmore, Saleh, and Borgiano had the moral fortitude to vote yes on the ceasefire resolution proposed last year. We hope that one of you will stand on the right side of history and resubmit the permanent ceasefire resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.35, Mustafa.
Hello, good evening. My name is Mustafa Öztürk. I live across the street from the ice rink, and I'm here to voice my opinion that the ice rink needs to be repaired and quickly. Just want to note that I moved to Jersey City because of the ice rink. I used to live in Hoboken. Kids skated at the Jersey City Capitals with the Jersey City Capitals, like the neighborhood, and moved to Ward C. I've been thinking about what I would say tonight, and I've been trying to think about what the most basic thing people in the city government do in the municipal government and in Jersey City, and I can't think of anything more basic than maintaining facilities. If this is a hard task, I don't know why our elected officials are you're volunteering for this position to maintain our facilities, and if this doesn't bother you, if you go to sleep at night without being upset that the Jersey City rink is not functioning for over a year, let's get some new leaders in that will take on the mantle and do this work. We're a big city. I heard some numbers, 5 million. Those numbers sound big, but we're a city of 300,000. That's $20 per person and living in the city. We should be able to fund this on our own. It should be repaired immediately. And if you want to make a facility, big, nice facility, great, I'm all for it. We should have the capability to do this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.36, Manya.
Monia Redeboim, 100 Montgomery. Approximately 25 years ago, I read in local newspaper, that people in Jersey City speak in 154 languages. I was shocked. So amazing city, amazing opportunities to bring all together people. But from time to time, arise new and new problems, friction between people. It's very sad to see it. Anti-Semitism, racism, anti-Muslim, anti-Christian. It's amazing everything. And sadly, I'm 87 years old. I nearly escaped Oswestime, Auschwitz, when I was preschooler together with parents. And I'm very frustrated when I see it, tension, unnecessary tension, and sometimes artificial tension. I'm talking now about our community at 100 Montgomery Street. It's very sad to see what is going on in this building. Our management has not a feeling toward no respect to people, nothing what can connect people, something opposite, always. And Miss Waterman, again and again, I'm asking you, come to us and set up the order. It's impossible. Look, last flyer was management distributed in our building. If you will not be home, we will drill out your lock. You will come and you will pay for restoring this lock. Who have a right to enter apartment without tenant's permission? and management. I have to say exactly manager use this subject, racism. And Monia is number one resistant this building. If I will show to you number 3 notice to cease, you will see what they put in my mouth words which I never use. They put in my mouth the cursing where I never use it in my Russian language. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Waterman, come please. Come to.
Our next speaker, 5.37, Judith. Okay, thank you. Next, 5.38, Tara. Tara. Go ahead, Tara.
Tonight, I would like to address the letter this council received from Derek Reed, the lawyer for Equity Residential. After the letter complained about your questions and a small group of vocal residents, Mr. Reed attempted to mislead this council and take advantage of an obvious math error in an email from the Bureau. Here's exactly what the written board determination mandated. The Bureau is instructed to obtain the records necessary to review and adjust the rent on all units within the buildings dating back 6 years from the filing of the first illegal rent petition at issue in the instant matters for each building. On November 27th, the Bureau sent all relevant parties a letter that rent proofs should be sent covering a look back for only 4 years from the date of the first illegal petitions. First petitions were filed in 2022. 2022 minus 6 equals 2016. The legal team representing the Portside Towers tenants responded to inform the Bureau that 2022 minus 6 equals 2016. The Bureau responded with a correction. On January 5, 2024, the Bureau came up with 2022 minus 6 equals 2017. A number of tenants have reported this issue here, yet no correction has been issued by the Bureau. Mr. Reed is disingenuously taking advantage of this obvious math error. How do we know this? We need only read the federal lawsuit Mr. Reed filed against Jersey City. I will read directly from that lawsuit. Further, the board erroneously ordered that the rent leveling administrator should adjust the rents charged at Portside Towers to a rent-controlled level during a look-back window beginning in 2016 to the present. Is he telling a lie in federal court, or is he being significantly disingenuous in his letter to you? According to Chapter 260-17, a violation of any provision of Chapter 260, including misstatements, is punishable via Chapter 125 with fines of up to $2,000 and/or imprisonment for up to 90 days. Please instruct the law department to help the Bureau communicate a correction that 2022 minus 6 is actually 2016, and issue any fines as appropriate for Mr. Reed's misstatements in writing to this council.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.39, Kevin.
Hello, everyone. I was out of the country on the 10th, or I would have been here. I did tune in, though. I really appreciated that you were as outraged as we were that Equity Residential is continuing to violate rent control, even after the binding board determination. I also appreciated Assistant Corporation Counsel confirming there is no stay, and that she would provide a brief to all of you so you will understand the law and your options. We will add to whatever she may have shared with you by bringing a few key areas of the ordinance to your attention tonight. I invite the council to ask the legal team to explain these key ordinance sections so we may all be on the same page. If you choose to ask the legal team any questions, It may be easier if you do so directly after a speaker brings up an issue, rather than trying to remember everything at the end. If you do, we know we are not to say anything unless asked. Also, I would like to thank Councilman Rivera for coordinating multiple meetings since the last council meeting here at City Hall, including just yesterday. I feel we are on the verge of a breakthrough, and I feel really good about that. When this council listens to us, it means a lot. We know you are listening when we see action, such as what was said at the last council meeting. We also listen to what each of you say, and now I want to briefly comment on something I heard. Madam President Waterman, you said, "We don't think you care." To my memory, this is at least the second time you have said something like this, so I want to address it because responding to you is just as important as you responding to us. Truth is the most important thing to me. If someone lies to me, there is virtually no coming back from that. This is something I pay a lot of attention to. Madam President, we've only ever had a few conversations and have only ever heard you address our situation a few times publicly here. I have paid very close attention to everything I've heard you say, and I believe you have always told me the truth. Therefore, I believe it when you say you care about what is happening to us. I understand this has been difficult to navigate, especially during the administrative process. Now that the board has ruled and our landlord is continuing to do the wrong thing, you pressed the Corporation Council for answers. Finally, you were unlocked, and at that moment you acted. As you hear what we have to say tonight, I believe you will find your action and the action of the other council members satisfied what we were looking for. And today I'm simply asking for you to follow through so we can land this plane and move on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen.
Our next speaker, 5.40, Eric.
Good evening, council members. First, I would like to say that we are pleased that you're now looking into how we can get the rent levying board's decision enforced. However, I would caution you to take the advice you get from the Office of Landlord-Tenant Relations as the only options. They are supposed to enforce the rent control ordinance, but sometimes they seem more interested in helping out the landlords than the tenants. We heard last time that the corporate counselor advised that we could just file a new case with this office when the landlords don't follow the rent leveling board's decision. This is the same office that refused to process the new cases we filed last February. We also know that an employee there changed the landlord registration statement form, taking out information about the length of the mortgage, making it almost impossible to check if the landlords follow the requirements in the ordinance. Furthermore, last month they tried to reduce the 6-year look-back period that the rent leveling board applied to a rent rollback, again favoring the landlords. It's become obvious that mathematics is not immune to alternative facts when money is involved. It looks like the Bureau and our landlord are happy to manipulate basic math concepts when they are required to pay. The fact that a basic subtraction has become a legal dispute is beyond absurd. So, to stop speculating on the results of 22 minus 6, I have asked my daughter in 2nd grade if she could remind the adults how subtractions work. She will be the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.41, Cassandra.
My name is Cassandra.
All right, hold on. We're going to stop for a second. You're going to come up to Councilperson Rivera's spot because he's looking for replacements. You know, I'm only joking when I say that, but.
Good evening. My name is Cassandra, and I am a 2nd grader at PS 16. It seems that my landlord doesn't know how to do subtractions. I studied that at school, and so I'd like to share what I have learned. So to find out how much 22 minus 6 makes, we can count like that. 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16. It makes 16. 22 minus 6 equals 16. Any other answers would be counted as wrong by my teacher. Also, I was born in 2016 and can tell you that in 2022, I was 6. I hope my landlord and its lawyers and everyone else who had doubts about how much 22 minus 6 makes now know better. Thank you.
All I could say is Jersey City's future is very, very bright. Very bright.
Hi.
Wait, you're being summoned.
Ooh. Hi, my name is Lucy again. Have you seen Newsies? There's this line saying we're on strike and Portland is on strike. But still, I'm grateful for you being able to help us and understand that rent should go low. And I'm glad that you're now starting to understand why we're coming here and keep on telling you to put the rent a little lower. But we're not really on strike, but we'll still be loud and are going to going away. Are not going away.
It's just totally mind blowing tonight. I don't know what to say. So, is it Anna?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, thank you. And, I want to say thank you for listening to us. Thank you for that moment of levity. And I think last council meeting, I think that we really did all feel like we were having a conversation. And, I know that a lot of what we are going through is complex. The folks behind me are working, 40 hours, 80 hours, 100 hours a week on top of their day jobs to sort of dig through all the records, submit the Oprah requests. So I really appreciate that. I do have a rebuttal to the Mr. Reed letter. I believe he said a small vocal group of tenants, but as you can see behind me, it is actually a large vocal group of tenants. So again, thank you for listening. Like Lucy said, we're not going away, and yeah, see you in 2 weeks.
Next speaker, 5.44, Jessica.
Good evening, City Council. I just want to say first, I really appreciated your engagement in our collective effort to shine the light of truth on the illegal rent increases in our landlords' noncompliance and bad behavior. I know Equity sent you a letter and where they attempted to blur the issues and persuade you to inaction. I think I've mentioned my scientific background in the past, and I'm accustomed to evaluating evidence and assessing its impact. So let's go through their statements together, consider the evidence, their actions, and the law. Quote number 1, quote, Equity cares deeply about its tenant relationships and invests in those relationships so that they are long-standing, end quote. Try again, Equity. Actions speak louder than words. Our landlord misrepresented the rent control status of our buildings. It continues to levy illegal rent increases while decreasing service. Issues continue like leaks, mold, rodents, lack of hot water, temperature dysregulation, and repair times of weeks or months, all while maintenance staff are reduced. We must have at least 4 maintenance staff per building. It's required by law. Quote 2, Equity's attorney told you about only a selected portion of Ordinance 260-7D. He said, quote, payment of a rental increase for 2 consecutive years shall be construed to be an agreed increase. But he missed telling you the rest of the ordinance language, which states the board shall waive the 2-year limitation when the landlord is not in compliance with the ordinance. So when Mr. Reed goes on to say, our client sees no benefit to any party for the Bureau to create confusion, end quote, be assured there is no confusion. The law is on our side, and there is no such thing as a 2-year limitation in our case. The Bureau can instead offer clarity and respite for tenants, while the landlord continues to encourage obfuscation. Quote number 3, Equity Residential is cooperating and complying fully with the board's decision and the law. So what is the law? Any rental increase in excess of that authorized is illegal and void. Any rent increases must abide by the provisions of Chapter 260. The landlord shall register the rent roll with the Rent Leveling Bureau in order to qualify for any rental increase. The landlord shall provide each tenant a copy of the truth in renting statement and be in full compliance with the landlord identity disclosure. Equity failed to do all of these things. So what does that mean? Any year these conditions were not satisfied, no rent increases are ever permitted. In summary, Equity in writing to you agreed they would comply with the law. Now let's ensure the Bureau takes them up on their offer. Please instruct the Law Department to ensure the Bureau sends a clear communication in this regard and that the Bureau gets it right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.45, Brendan.
Sorry.
You can bring that up to you, Brendan.
Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Brendan, and like those standing with me, I'm a resident of Portside. Now, a little about me, I spent my adult life learning economics and U.S. history, specifically Industrial Revolution, coincidentally, when most of these rent control laws began being written. Now, back in November, I was unable to attend the infamous Rent Control Board meeting. I was working overtime to make sure I'd have enough money to pay my rent. But I did, however, see the end result of all the pictures of tenants going out celebrating. Nothing like seeing that when you're reading Excel documents all night, am I right? Now, armed with the knowledge that it was decreasing, I decided to go out to celebrate a few days later, and well, was able to actually afford a meal for once. So it was rather nice. And that's one of the things with the Rent Control Board's decision, rents are going to go down, which means all of us are going to be able to actually afford to go out and spend money in the city and boost the economy. I sort of feel like that's a bit of better injection in the economy than raising people's rents and letting them get thrown out. Because we as a society in the 30s learned what happens when large landlords control cities. They get destroyed and demolished. And worse, nobody stays, nobody lives. These cities get run down or become somewhat unaffordable. We become next Singapore. Sorry, just lost my place. Real estate firms like Equity do not actually invest in our city. They put up buildings, take the money out of the economy, and don't help our city. We need to push them to actually do what they're required to do by law. The money that my fellow tenants and I pay to Equity isn't going to help improve Jersey City living. Might be why we don't have a ice skating rink, fixed purchasing field. Equity claims to be acting in good faith during this rollback, yet their own letter says they misquoted city ordinances and apparently doesn't know how to do math. I'll save the math lesson to for the kids. Their argument, by Equity's logic, I could park an SUV in a bike lane, argue with the officer that comes ticket me by saying, well, you see, I'm actually fighting a law in a federal lawsuit to ban all bike lanes. You really don't need to ticket me, but tell you what, I'll move it a block over and run over a guy instead. I am sure the officer will agree with this decision. Thank you very much for your time.
Next speaker, 5.46, Mark. Oh, sorry. Next speaker, 5.47, Rihanna.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. My name is Rhiannon McAwee. I'm speaking to you here for the first time. My family and I moved to Portside Towers in April 2020. In April 2022, Portside sent a renewal with a rent increase of 12%. We were stunned. We asked if we could have a renewal of a 15-month lease. However, Equity were very aggressive in their negotiations, and this, despite having multiple leaks in our roof and walls that resulted in damaged carpets, water pouring through the kitchen light fittings, and more. Efforts to address these issues remain ongoing. Since moving in, our rent has increased by 20%. Council members, we're beyond grateful for this group as they've achieved a huge win for us. A unanimous decision and written determination by the city's rent levelling board, which states, and I quote, both buildings and all units therein have been for the duration of their occupancies subject to rent control. Later in the written determination, the board concludes that rents need to be adjusted. Despite the decision on November 3rd, the landlord has been sending tenants renewal notices that are not in compliance with the landlord-tenant laws in New Jersey and have failed to comply with the Jersey City Rent Control Ordinance. Some tenants have received notices of rent increases as high as 40%. In fact, the Bureau determines when rent rollback numbers should be and the landlord is in compliance with the ordinance, there should be no rent increases. It was a big surprise to us that our landlord, Equity Residential, has filed a complaint against the city and its rent levelling board. I quote again, Portside will be unable to prevent unwanted tenants from physically occupying its land. We, who have written contracts in the form of 10-page leases with Equity, who illegally overcharge us, and we are now unwanted. This seems to run contrary to their assertion in their most recent legal letter stating that they are committed to its residents in compliance with Jersey City laws. The letter goes on to state that they've been cooperating with the requests of Jersey City Rent Levelling Bureau and deny that they are acting in bad faith. Council members, when we asked Equity to be reasonable in their last round of astronomical rent hikes, they refused. They used tactics of intimidation to tenants, suggesting that we move out if we're not happy with illegal raises, telling us that there's plenty more people ready and willing to move in. This is hardly good faith. Despite the ruling, the landlord continues to increase rents. If the landlord were truly acting in good faith, they would not be acting in contravention of the Jersey City Rent Control Ordinance. Unless the decision of the board is stayed or reversed, the landlord must comply. Any increase in rents at this time is not in compliance and continues to hurt tenants. Now the city has hired external legal representation and labelled Equity's federal lawsuit frivolous, yet nothing has changed. Thank you for your time and attention.
Next speaker, 5.48, Sean.
Good evening, council members. It has been almost 3 months since the Rent Leveling Board deemed Portside Towers to be rent control since each tower was built in the 90s. And yet Equity is still operating as if they are not. My lease renewal came up after the unanimous Rent Leveling Board hearing on October 19th, 2023. In the 3 months since the determination, I have been denied a new lease because I refused to sign an unlawful lease of 10% increase from the previous year. Once my previous lease ended, given Equity never provided me with a lease with a legal rate, I automatically became a month-to-month tenant. Month-to-month tenants are just as protected by the rent control ordinance as any other tenant. Yet after the October 19th board determination, and still to this day, my rent has been raised over 60%. I want to make sure I'm very clear about this. I am only talking about my increase since the board hearing, and that increase was over 60%. Also, since the hearing and even since the written determination on November 6th, I have been told Equity may initiate eviction proceedings, given I am only paying 10% over my previous lease. I am voluntarily paying more than 2 times over the maximum increase Equity could ever charge, just to make sure I'm safe, and in reality, I know they don't even qualify to increase my rent at all. They are supposed to decrease my rent, and now I have to fear eviction. The board has ruled, please don't tell me to fill out yet another illegal rent petition and wait months for help. I did this, we won, help me. This is a blatant disregard of the rent control ordinance and contrary to the letter you received from Mr. Reed, where he tried to convince you that Equity cares about us and they are doing everything right. This is totally against the law, and yet here I am. There have been no fines given to them by the city for blatantly disregarding the Rent Leveling Board's determination. And frankly, I'm at my wit's end about it. You can find them. Hoboken is finding landlords hundreds of thousands of dollars. Jersey City can do this. The longer this drags on, the more people like myself will have to make hard choices, and it's putting us in even more of a bind. I know you might think the simple answer is to move out or pay thousands of dollars in legal fees to see the law enforced, but for most of us, it is not that simple. Laws are in place for them to be followed and adhered to, and so far, I don't see any incentive for equity to adhere to the law. Please, I beg of you, investigate. Find them for not adhering to the laws. I am not the only one this is happening to. Please help me. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.49, Tom.
Good evening, council members. It has become very clear that Equity Residential would like to sow confusion where there is none. The rent control ordinance is actually very clear. I would like to read a portion of the rent control ordinance, and then I will kindly ask you to either clarify with the city lawyers if something is not clear, or perhaps request that they provide a brief to you as was promised at the last council meeting. Chapter 260-2B. Any rental increase in excess of that authorized by the provisions of this chapter shall be void. I don't think that could be any clearer. There are only a few parts of the ordinance that cover rental increase authorization. They are under section 3, which is titled Allowable Increases. The first paragraph of this section covers the CPI or 4%, whichever is less, rule, which we have heard the law department mention to you in this very room. There are a few other paragraphs in this same section, which we have never heard the law department mention here at all. These are the parts the Bureau seems to struggle with. Here is an important one. Paragraph H says, landlord shall register the rent roll with the Rent Leveling Bureau in order to qualify for any rental increase. Our landlord has never done this. Doesn't this make the recalculation very simple? We just take the base rate and ask this question for each year. Rent roll in 1998? No. 1999? No. And so on. If our landlord never met this clear qualification, this would be the easiest recalculation ever. What is a rent roll? What if the landlord just emails a blank file which is named rent roll? Would that count? Isn't the point of the rent roll to ensure transparency and to give the Bureau what they need to enforce Ordinance 260? What if a landlord were to leave out information such that the Bureau and the tenants would have no way of knowing if the rents are at the legal rates? As it turns out, the ordinance has this answer too. Chapter 260-9H says, no rent roll registration will be deemed filed with the board unless and until submitted on the board's official forms and accompanied by all appropriate supporting documents and information and the required filing fees. No rent roll, no increase. It is the law, and that's simple. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.50, Suzanne.
Hi, everyone. I'd like you to ponder something first. Why does the ordinance void unauthorized rent increases rather than simply roll back rents to earlier illegal rent rates? First, it's the law. Second, sometimes a unit in 2016 had a corporate tenant with a significantly inflated rate, a rate that is illegal under rent control. If the Bureau were to be permitted to violate the ordinance and not void illegal rates, but rather give tenants earlier illegal rates, it would defeat the entire point of rent control. It would cause some rents to be increased. We do not need to fight in court related to any aspect of the ordinance that is properly enforced. To be clear, we fully understand the board ruled for a 6-year look back. We are not disputing that before you. When the Bureau does that 6-year look back, they must do so according to the ordinance. Bureau. Look back 6 years, and when you do, a recalculation of legal rents must happen. In 2016, the rents were already illegally inflated. The ordinance is clear about how to recalculate rents, even with a 6-year look back. You may be aware that the city of Hoboken has issued fines against Avalon Bay and the Jordan for their non-compliance of the rent control determination against them. As you know, Equity has willfully not abided by the rent control determination made in the tenant's favor on October 19th, 2023 by the Rent Leveling Bureau. And so far, we have not seen any action by the city to penalize Equity. Per Ordinance 260-17, a violation of any provision of Chapter 260, including misstatements, is punishable as per Article 1-25 with fines up to $2,000 and/or imprisonment for up to 90 days. A violation affecting more than one tenant shall be considered a separate violation as to each tenant per the ordinance. Furthermore, each day a violation of any provision of this code or any ordinance shall constitute a separate offense as stated in the ordinance. This means that continued noncompliance will result in escalating penalties for Equity. We have 527 units with over 1,000 tenants. Start doing the math. The city can and should impose fines on Equity for not complying with the city's determination that we are in fact a rent controlled building and have never been exempt from rent control. Is the city going to impose said fines? Additionally, the council has the duty to investigate why the Bureau continues to make mistakes exclusively in favor of our landlord. We have been asked to submit even more illegal rent petitions. Why? Did you know we still have not received a response from Director Richardson for the last 2 petitions, which were sent in February last year? Now we are supposed to send even more. We have submitted over 100, the most ever in the history of Jersey City, and Equity is still violating the ordinance every single day. I don't think more petitions at this point is the answer.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.51, Joseph.
Good evening, council members. My name is Joseph DiVittorio. I am a tenant at Portside Towers, and I'm speaking here for the first time. Just a few days ago, our tenant associations received a copy of a letter from our landlord's lawyer, Derek Reed, addressed to all of you, in which they describe how much they care about us, while essentially disregarding us as a small group of vocal residents. I am here to tell you both statements are false. Mr. Reed opened this letter to you by complaining that they were troubled by certain statements that were made by this council without bothering to cite any actual statement that was in any way inaccurate, much less troubling. In reality, you were mostly just asking questions. Mr. Reed, on the other hand, made a number of troubling statements. Allow me to review just one of those statements. He claimed that Ordinance 260 puts a cap of just 2 years on look back for damages, and to convince you, he quoted Chapter 260-7D by saying, quote, "Payment of rental increases for 2 consecutive years shall be construed to be an agreed increase." And then he ended it there with a period. He even put the ordinance reference right next to his quote, 260-7D. If you actually look up that reference, there is a second half to that sentence, which Mr. Reed chose not to quote. That half says, "Except that in the event that the board determines that the landlord has not served upon the tenant the rental statement, this board shall waive the 2-year limitations period." Nobody at Portside Towers has ever been served with those papers. According to Chapter 260-17, a violation of any provision of Chapter 260, including misstatements, is punishable via Chapter 125 with fines up to $2,000 and/or imprisonment up to 90 days. It goes on to say a violation affecting more than one tenant shall be considered a separate violation as to each tenant. Why do you suppose Mr. Reed inserted a period mid-sentence and left out the part about the lack of a rental statement resulting in the 2-year limit being waived? Do you suppose that might qualify as a misstatement from a lawyer, no less? It sure doesn't seem to me that something a caring landlord would do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.52, Carol.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for allowing me to share my concerns once again. As a tenant, the consequences of not paying rent are undeniably significant. Landlords hold the authority to impose late fees and the ultimate threat of eviction, all within the landlord's rights and supported by the law. This is why I'm here to express my frustration with the seemingly one-sided enforcement of these rights. Despite our victory at the rent leveling board hearing, it's frustrating and angering to witness Equity Residential blatantly disregard the law. When our rental lease came up for renewal, it was with an increase above the legally allowed rate. We called Equity and asked them why our rent was going up at all because, as we understood it, our rent should be readjusted and decreased. The person didn't have a response to our question and said, well, what more could you pay? This response lacked any logic or rationale, but we played along and we responded, well, how about no increase? To which the person responded, how about $50 a month increase? And that's where we settled. Some of my neighbors were not able to negotiate down anything at all, and this shows how riddled with problems this rent renewal process has been. Entirely unfair, seemingly discriminatory, and entirely subjective. And while we are here asking the council to help us get our landlords' equity to adhere to the law, refund overpayments, roll back rents to legal rates, it's crucial to highlight the disparity in treatment. For instance, Equity can continue to demand illegal rental rates and can service an eviction notice through the sheriff or other law enforcement, meaning they have the full support and backing of a legal system to uphold the law that protects their rights. In addition, Equity can charge its tenants as many legal fees as they want. For instance, if a tenant were late by 1 day beyond the allowable time frame, Equity's lawyers can send an eviction notice with a fine of 10% of the monthly rental rate along with a legal fee of $1,000. In our case, these fees and actions were against tenants who in reality were owed money. Every year, a staggering 3.6 million eviction cases are filed by landlords. While I do not claim that all cases result from unjust practices, the possibility of a significant number being unjust cannot be ignored. For example, one of our neighbors was a tenant for 18 years and was evicted for non-payment of rent during the pandemic. And it turns out that Equity Residential may have owed him as much as $200,000 at the time he was kicked out. As we've stated multiple times, I implore the council to address these issues, ensure fairness, justice, and equal protection for tenants, uphold the law, and fulfill the responsibilities entrusted to you. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Our next speaker, 5.53, Drew.
Hi, City Council members. My name is Drew Kochanowski, and I'm a relatively new tenant of Portside Towers. This is my first time speaking before you. I am here to show my support for all 527 units which are subject to rent control and all other Jersey City residents who are in a similar situation. I moved to Jersey City just over a year ago to seek affordable rent prices because New York was no longer a suitable option for me. As a young, single 26-year-old professional faced with the burden of student debt, illegal spikes in our rent are the last thing I want to deal with. While I consider myself fortunate, I know other tenants of Portside Towers face similar, if not more, difficult circumstances, whether it be student debt, credit card debt, medical debt, operating as a single parent, and so on. I find it imperative that you fulfill your duty as City Council members to either investigate why the Office of Landlord-Tenant Relations is making so many mistakes in favor of our landlord, or ask the Law Department to help them to get it right. The ruling was simple. A look back to 2016, a recalculation of what the legal rent should have been from 2016 forward, and rebates based on what we have been overcharged since 2016. For many of us, rent is an already taxing monthly bill, and as illegal renewals come in, it's only been a harsh reality for many tenants having to move out and find a new home in a crippling economy and difficult time for many New Jerseyans. For every month that passes, Portside residents continue to pay illegal rents that only drive us to collectively grow stronger with a greater passion to secure what has been illegally taken from us. We ask of you to please urge the Bureau to request from Equity Residential the leases from 1998 so the correct base rates can be known, and all the leases from 2016 forward so the Bureau can calculate the rebates for the 6-year look back. Equity has told you in writing they will follow the direction of the Bureau. Since the October hearing, the Bureau has not requested all this basic information yet. Please take any steps you can to ensure the Bureau requests this basic information without delay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.54, Shannon.
Good evening. Hello, City Council. I also plan to read a portion of the rent control ordinance, and then I will ask you to either clarify with the city lawyers if something's not clear, or perhaps they can provide a brief to you as was promised at the last City Council meeting. Chapter 260-2B, the quote is, any rental increase in excess of that authorized by the provisions of this chapter shall be void. There's no way that could be clearer. Now we navigate again to section 3, allowable increases. Again, the first paragraph of this section covers the CPI or 4%, whichever is less rule. Paragraph H, as another of the tenants spoke of, covers the no rent rolls, no increases. Here is another important one. It's paragraph J. The quote is, the landlord shall provide to each tenant a copy of the truth in renting statement and subsequent amendments to said statement and be in full compliance with the landlord identity disclosure provision contained within the statement in order to qualify for any rental increases. Our landlord has never been in full compliance with the landlord identity disclosure provisions. Doesn't this make the recalculation very simple? We just take the base rate and ask this question for each year. Was there landlord identity compliance in 1998? No. 99? No. And so on. If our landlord never met this qualification, which is quite clear, this should be the easiest recalculation ever. And so I'll quote the ordinance again. Any rental increase in excess of that authorized by the provisions of this chapter shall be void. No rent rolls, any increases shall be void. No landlord identity compliance, all increases shall be void. There's lots of evidence of things that need to be voided. What happens when there are void increases? Chapter 260-2D explains, any rent increases to the extent that such increases in excess of that which is permitted by this chapter is hereby declared to be null and void, and such excess rent shall be refunded and credited by the landlord forthwith. Council, this couldn't be any clearer. It is the law. Please have the law department compel the Bureau to recalculate the rents by voiding all illegal increases. The lawful recalculation in our case makes this very simple. The rent rate has never changed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.55, Tasha.
Good evening, council member.
Tasha, just make sure the mic is up by you.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Good evening, council members. My name is Tasha Sethi, and this is my first time speaking to you today. Additionally, my family and I have lived at Portside Towers for the past 7 years. Portside, okay. Sorry, guys, hold on. Tonight, I would like to address this letter this council received from Derek Reed, the lawyer for our landlord Equity Residential. After the letter complained about your questions in a small group of vocal residents, Mr. Reed attempted to mislead this council. Obfuscation means to make something hard to understand or unclear, especially intentionally. Oh, sorry. This is what some lawyers do when their client is wrong according to the law, but they are being paid to help them anyway. How did it make you feel that Mr. Reed wrote that the 6-year look back from the rent leveling board was somehow a suggested interpretation for our attorney? Is deobfuscate a word? Allow me to read what the actual board determination said. The Bureau is instructed to obtain the records necessary to review and adjust the rent on all units within the building dating back 6 years from the filing of the first illegal rent petition for each building. I don't think that could be any clearer. Now, I will read a portion of Mr. Reed's letter to all of you. Meanwhile, the tenant's attorney has written to the city suggesting an interpretation of the board's November 3rd decision to mandate a 6-year look-back period. Did the board determination seem like a suggested interpretation was necessary? He also wrote that Equity Residential is cooperating and complying fully with the board's decision in law. His client has been increasing rents after the board determined rent decreases were in order. His client has informed tenants business as usual until all court actions come to a conclusion. According to Chapter 260-17, a violation of any provision of Chapter 260, including misstatements, is punishable via Chapter 1-25 with fines up to $2,000 and/or imprisonment for up to 90 days. It goes on to say a violation affecting more than one tenant shall be considered a separate violation to each tenant. Why do you suppose Mr. Reed is representing that his client is cooperating and complying fully with the board's decision and the law? Do you suppose that would qualify as a misstatement? From a lawyer, no less.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.56, John.
Hello again. Excuse me. Okay, following the public speaking portion of the last council meeting, it was heartening to hear the dialogue among the council members and the legal team, and we really appreciate it. Heartening for us as residents, of course, apparently not for Equity Residential, who were a little put out by what they heard. According to Equity, they've always been compliant with the city ordinances regarding the conduct of landlords, and they care deeply about their relationships with their residents and invest in them to ensure their longevity. They care so much about their relationships with their residents that when one of the Portside tenants had a meeting with the building's manager several months ago to discuss rent increases and deterioration of services, they were told that Equity's top priority is its investors. They care so much about their relationships with their residents that they cut the headcount of their maintenance team so much that emergency maintenance requests such as water intrusion and mold are not addressed for days, sometimes even weeks or months. Never mind non-urgent issues, which are often ignored altogether. According to the New Jersey Administrative Code, given the number of units in each building, there should be 4 full-time maintenance staff in each building. Will you push to have this enforced? Equity cares so much about their relationships with their residents that even though a key fob security entry system was installed a couple of years ago, it's barely operational. If a concierge happens to be away from the desk, which is unavoidable at times to carry out their many duties, people can literally walk in off the street and into the elevators to go wherever they want to go, as long as the elevators are working, obviously. They care so much about their relationships with their residents that for decades they've bypassed due process to act like they're exempt from rent control. They're not. Not without a little assistance from the city along the way, of course, such as forms being mysteriously altered, and of course the non-enforcement of Chapter 260. The Rent Levelling Board's determination was given in November last year, and it's binding. Equity Residential continue to ignore it. Why hasn't the city pushed Equity to comply? As you've already heard, the city of Hoboken has written to 2 landlords in similar cases to ours, reminding them to do their duty to comply with their rent control ordinance and the hefty fines that will be imposed otherwise. Why isn't Jersey City doing this? The Mayor of Hoboken told a local news outlet that we as a city will stand up to corporate greed that undermines the well-being of our community. It must be really nice to have a mayor who cares about its constituents. Council members, please will you work with us to push the city to do its duty to its residents? Thank you. We appreciate your help.
Our next speaker, 5.57, Mel.
Okay, I know I'm late in the running today, so apologize if there's any repetition. I want to try and look at things from a slightly different angle. So Yes, we're very glad to hear all your comments last time. We're very happy to have some support and some movement and, some real action being taken. We are still waiting on Mayor Phillip to lend his words of support or empathy, but we must continue to wait on that. So I'd like to reiterate, and especially so Mayor Phillip hears, why we cannot leave equity to do the right thing. They've shown time and again that they will not, and at the same time claim the opposite. The recent communication that's been talked about a lot tonight, where equity claims to care deeply for their tenant relationships and invest in those relationships, they claim a small number of vocal tenants dispute this. Well, I'll give them that a small number of tenants may feel cared for and invested in. Surely not everybody is having the same experience, but I will outline some of the many cases where this is not true, for I would wager the vast majority. We've been told we live in a luxury building. This may have been true back when Portside Towers was first built, but compare us to the new buildings today in Jersey City, Portside's extremely lacking. Another reason our rent shouldn't be considered market rate, if we needed yet another reason. There are plenty of minimal legal requirements that equity still does not meet. I won't quote all the legal sources many people already have here, but I'll speak of the real life examples which are far from acceptable. We still have drafts, mold, rats and mice, maintenance requests for even emergencies for substantial leaks and inability to use bathrooms are ignored or left for hours, days, sometimes weeks. Equity is operating with a skeleton maintenance staff, resulting in one resident who recently shared a hack to insulate their bathroom. They are adhering bubble wrap to the windows so that their bathroom is usable, warm enough to use. This obscures any view from this luxury building, and it definitely reeks of luxury, care, and investment. Security is another requirement the city that equity has been allowed to ignore. There is a security system. It's often disabled. There's no security guard like there should be according to a city ordinance. In fact, several services or amenities we've had in the past have been removed or decided to charge more for a worse service. They've even gone so far as to remove fly screens from windows and balcony doors. This, by the way, must be custom built. They can't be used anywhere else. To get our own is, extremely expensive and costly. They're removing them when a tenant leaves, even if they're in perfect working order, so they won't be asked to replace them in the future. Now, if you're a tenant without fly screens, there are a stack of them down by the maintenance office in the East Tower. Some may suggest custom screens belong to the apartments they're made for. So you'll have to fit them yourself, but no security will stop you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.58, Erin.
Testing this, all right. Good evening, council members. I'm Erin Kent. Look at the world around you. It may seem like an immovable, implacable place. It is not. With the slightest push in the right place, it can be tipped. This quote is from author Malcolm Gladwell, who defined a phenomenon called the tipping point, or when an idea, trend, or social behavior crosses a threshold, tips, and spreads like wildfire, a direct definition from his book. I've been thinking a lot lately about the tipping point, as one does casually, and I've been asking myself, when does the scale finally tip in our favor? What does it take for Equity Residential, the City of Jersey City, the Office of Landlord and Tenant Relations to finally feel the weight? Because this is not the kind of wildfire that anybody really wants. This isn't the Barbie movie or the latest viral sound on TikTok. This has the chance, if you take action now, to be contained. So I ask, what is the tipping point here? Is it the endlessly similar speeches with the same pleas over and over? Is it the new faces coming to City Hall each week when you probably thought you'd only ever see the same old ones? Is it the faces of the kids standing behind you reiterating the facts and figures with pure yet blunt simplicity, as only children can really do? Is it the news coverage that will bring national attention to this matter? Is it the hundreds of residents now very actively aware of this situation, a growing number by the day, now very aware of their rights as tenants and aware of the illegal rent charges taken from them each and every month? Is it that we are running out of time because the longer that action fails to take place here, then the action we must take outside in court is imminent? Is it that our neighboring city of Hoboken is on the right side of the law, willing to fine buildings like the Avalon Bay and the Jordan who refuse to comply? Is it the fines that could and should result for those who don't don't follow the law, which when you think about it, are drops in the bucket for a $23 billion corporation like Equity Residential. These things, they weigh heavily on us. And I imagine they weigh heavily on you too. They are reaching a critical mass. And if you stand with us, you have the choice to stand on the right side, to contain the damage, put out the spark before it catches and turns into a wildfire. I ask you, council members, what will be the tipping point for us and the tipping point for you? Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.59, Michelle.
Evening. I thank Councilman Rivera for his 2 invitations for Kevin and I to meet with his aide, Yvette. And I thank Yvette for her time. I believe that Yvette learned from us. She learned more about the rent control ordinance. She learned that Equity's attorney, Mr. Derek Reed, unethically changed the meaning of Section 260-7D by providing you with only a portion of that provision. Ethical lawyers don't edit the law to meet their needs. They cite the entire provision. She also learned, I believe, that Kevin and I want nothing more than the city to do the right thing. And I learned that for the council to do the right thing, you need not only more information, but you need correct, precise information. I had assumed that the council was regularly informed about our case and all aspects of the law as it pertains to our case. I learned that I was wrong about that. And this leads me to offer a sincere apology to you, President Waterman. First, I do believe that you care. I now realize that our perceived inaction on the part of the council is because, again, you have not been completely informed about the law as it pertains to us. And this is allowing our landlord to continue the harm it perpetrates on Portsiders. During the last council meeting, I spoke out of turn while you and Ms. Murray were discussing Portsiders' claims that the landlord-tenant office was not complying with the instructions for rent rollbacks as set forth in the Rent Leveling Board's determination. Truly, it was not my intention to be disruptive, but the information that was being shared with you was not entirely accurate. Ms. Murray stated that Equity could continue to raise our rents up to 4% because that is the maximum permitted by the ordinance for buildings subject to rent control. The 4% number was mentioned several times. But all of you and Ms. Murray must understand that in our case, the 4% number is a red herring. The 4% number is only relevant if certain conditions have been met by the landlord. Equity has never met them, and to this day, 3 months after our rent leveling board hearing, it is still not in compliance with them. Until you understand those provisions of the law, you can't possibly understand why we keep asking you to investigate. Did you receive the brief that the Corporation Council promised you? I'm going to ask that you ask the difference between rollbacks and recalculations, which El Cupo did say in the transcript for our hearing. Please, this is important so you can fulfill your duties. For the record tonight, immediately after my 3 minutes, ask Ms. Murray to explain the specific provisions of Chapter 260 that are in front of you. Be informed. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.60, XB. Faith Wait. Not here. Next, 5.61, Edward.
Let me begin with my call to the mayor's office. I called him on yesterday. It was time for me to see if I can meet with him to ask him the most important questions. And I was forwarded to the office, I was forwarded to the resident response office. And so Miss Diane told me that she meets with the mayor every night and she'll be addressing my questions and she'll get back to me. So that was a little bit over 24 hours ago. She hasn't been able to yet, but I assume she will. And I just wanted to know where the mayor stands on the CCRB bill that just made it out of the House in Trenton, A1515, and also where he stands and the Public Safety Department with the Seabrooks and Washington bill that the governor just signed. The member of Jersey City Together did state on record that Nick Flora was there at the meeting as a liaison for the Public Safety Department. But I'm on record letting you know that I'm here holding you responsible as the council to reflect how I feel and also the community feels about our leadership. So it's okay that Flora is there, but we need to know where the mayor stands on, for instance, Arrive Together. He denied the program that was afforded to us through the Attorney General's office, and he needs to answer for that. He said when the police officers murdered Drew, that they did everything by the book. You all know that that book's not good enough for us. This bill and Trenton now affords us a new way forward. That's what we demand. Where in the world is Public Safety Director Shea at this moment? Can you all tell us how the de-escalation tactics have changed? What new tactics have been implemented? I mean, since August 27th, since Drew's death, because they're still responsible for responding to calls. There's still the likelihood that another community member could be lost and we could suffer more. So this is important to me. I'm down here. I remember Drew. I'll always remember Drew. But it's on you to bring the mayor here for some accountability. It's a shame everybody coming up here. And you know what? Personally, Mr. Rivera, it was good, you know, I felt good about it, you know, but I said to myself and many members sitting here, I said, okay, so it's not about showmanship, right? Because these are our meetings and it feels great, but we all need support. We all need support. I would like to sit in that seat and speak too, but we have to see the work brought to fruition, you know, so I have to let you know about the call.
Thank you.
I have to let you know about the call.
Our next speaker, 5.62, Gina.
Good evening. As always, I want to thank our dedicated council for their time, attention, and advocacy. I'm here to add to all the other voices concerned about public safety in our city, especially as it relates to acute mental health and behavioral health incidents response. Since the brutal murder by Jersey City Police of Andrew Washington in August of 2023, we have not seen enough active response and empathy from our leaders. How are we going to do better in the future? The state of New Jersey just legally recognized that here in New Jersey, we have some of the most extreme racial disparities in policing and police violence in our country. It would go a long way for us to hear Director Shea's recognition and support for the Seabrooks-Washington Act. Tonight, I am encouraging the council to continue to hold our public safety department accountable. And in fact, I'm asking you to step up the intensity at this point. On Monday, Director Shea welcomed you and your feedback. Unlike other directors in our city, he said he takes full responsibility for the actions of his department. That's great. Let's take him up on this. Please put pressure on Director Shea to dedicate more time and resources towards de-escalation training and programs. Tonight, you all are being asked to approve item 10.12, Resolution 24-044, providing embarrassingly expensive furniture for that new $1 million police training facility. We just hired 25 cadets, and as a diverse and dense city, we have an opportunity to show the world a different kind of policing. In spite of that opportunity, we are seeing de-escalation training continue to be a footnote in Director Shea's plans. Before the holidays, I shared with you some preliminary stats as academics and social scientists are starting to measure the effects of these de-escalation programs and their impact. And I want us all to remember the number 36 tonight. It's the biggest number in these measurements, and it shows that 36% reduction in officer injuries is possible. That's Director Shea's team. Those are his direct reports. That's his team that we're talking about, where we could encourage less violence and less injury to our officers. What boss wouldn't want a 36% reduction of injury to his workforce or her workforce? Why aren't we more focused on reducing these incidences of violence? Director Shea should be focusing on reducing harm for both citizens and his employees rather than building a militarized city out of Jersey City. We don't need another cop city. We need justice for Drew. Ceasefire now. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.63, Terry.
Before you speak, Terry, could I just say something? For the speakers that are going to come up on the podium, you guys don't need to hug the microphone and speak like this because then we can't hear you. So if you could just step back, it will hear you better. Thanks.
Okay, good evening, council ward members. I am Terry Fox. I'm admin for our local Jersey City mom community, our local Jersey City parent communities, and a third Hoboken and Jersey City parent communities. I come to you today. First, I'd like to say thank you. I know that thank you for all your daily efforts. I am truly in awe of all the good that you do for us and for our great city, truly. I know it's not easy. I come to you today to ask you to please find a way to fix the Pershing Field ice rink. It is important and essential for our community. The children of Jersey City need an ice rink. Please find a way. The absence of it is truly being felt within our parent and youth communities. Our community can rally to help raise funds if needed or help in any way, and I mean that. Please, please find a way to save our ice rink. Second, moms and parents in our community are worried for the growing traffic issues. As a small business owner who spends hours on the daily in the car to pick up ingredients, make deliveries, and get around for our local events for our mom and parent communities, and simple day-to-day mom life duties, I also am seeing aggressive drivers. I feel people are driving erratically, out of control. People are not following traffic laws. I'm sure that you are working on these issues, and I hope that you can find ways to better the situation for all of us. Lastly, former Mayor Jerry McCain. His tweets and social media presence has been repeatedly hateful and racist. He is a paid Jersey City employee, from my understanding. That seems wrong to me and many of us. That absolutely should not be happening. City employees, just as community leaders, should be held to a higher standard. We should be the example. Has anyone checked on him? Is he okay? Like, seriously. Jerry McCain needs to resign and without pay from our city immediately. He should be held to a higher standard, as is anybody who serves our community. This is extremely upsetting, and our city deserves better. We must be better and do better on all of these matters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Our next speaker, 5.64, Joel N. Not here. Next, 5.65, Nicholas. Nicholas, not here. 5.66, Syed. Not here. Okay, Henry emailed me, 5.67, not speaking tonight. 5.68, Tal. Left, okay. Thank you. 5.69, Luke. I don't mean Skywalker. And next, 5.70, Karen.
Evening.
Good evening.
Is this correct? You hear me?
Yeah.
I'm here because I want you to remind you
But what we are losing because the ice rink is closed, you probably know that the Jersey City Rec program was partnering with Hockey in New Jersey. And what that program does in Newark since, I believe, 2010, in Jersey City since 2015, they work with the cities where they are. They get the ice, and the rest is all them. They bring in volunteers to teach the kids how to skate, and to then after that, become ice ice skaters, hockey ice skaters, and they bring in the equipment. It's usually secondhand stuff, but it doesn't matter. It's for little kids. Some of these things you barely know it's been used. And that means that it's hockey for everybody. It truly is. If you go to these, if you see them playing their games or practicing, you can tell that that the group is as diverse as the city they are in. That's very important. And we don't have that in Jersey City anymore. They have graciously allowed us to come to Newark if we want to, but because so many people don't drive, it's very hard to do that. So since it seems you all are not getting a rec together or even getting the ice open, I'm not talking about some new fancy smancy ice skating ring. In 2020 and 2021, when when the parents weren't allowed inside, the kids would get dressed, not in the changing room because that wasn't allowed either. The only thing they had was ice, and that's pretty much all you need. When we go there, we would see on Saturdays after the game, people line up from the community to come to the ice time to do skating. Friday evenings, the same thing. It's all lost on what does youth have at the moment here to do. It's less and less. It's really discouraging to see taxes go up, but what you get back for it becomes less and less. It just doesn't make sense. So I really truly hope you will look into this. I will also have a couple of seconds left to say thank you for taking the ordinance off about the fees, because I don't understand why they don't want to work for 150, less than 150 an hour. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.71, Salvador.
Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
Let me start by saying that we have knocking on many doors and nobody had listened to us until Hudson County Commissioner Bill Odia and his assistant Corey Garriga took their time and look at the many issues we have in our building, which are many issues. But we're going to focus on the Ordinance 22-91. That's for emergency repairs to be amended to include elevators. One of the reasons that we're here is because in our building, it's been almost 2 years that our elevator is not working at all. We've been asking management so many times, what is the reason that they're not fixing it? They don't get back to us. We email many times to them. We text them and they don't even get back to us. It looks like they don't care. They don't even respond. So we're asking you if you can help us out with this, because it's a health issue too. Because the reason that I'm saying health issue is because the garbage is left out in the hallways. When the elevator was up and running, everybody used to take the garbage to the basement because we have access to, when we have to access to the basement because we have the elevator. If we don't have an elevator, we don't have access to the basement. What they did was they just put so many containers outside our building, and we have to take the garbage out. So the issue is that we have mice and rats. and in our building because of the reason that we don't have the building. We are getting, I'm getting old, and this is wearing me out every time that I have to walk with groceries, my wife too. And it's hard to see the other people too. There's other people that when they come up with their groceries, you will see as a neighbor, I like to help them out when I see them because they need our help. There's old people that can't even walk. We have a guy, a neighbor at the third floor that he doesn't even move from his apartment because he doesn't have access to the elevator. So I feel bad when I see many of our neighbors struggle. So the reason that they say, well, and it's not official, but they say that explanation that they gave us is that Verizon has so many antennas in the roof, and in order to fix the elevator, they have to take the antennas down, and they haven't done that. So I don't know how long it's going to take them to help us out with this issue.
What's the address?
Actually, I can cover this. Commissioner O'Day's office did reach out to us to see if we can amend the receivership ordinance. So I've been in contact with the law department to see if that is possible because it is currently tied to emergency repair with our heat ordinance. So we are working on that. And then earlier this evening, we did receive an email from Joe Barrow with an update on the AT&T antennas. So if you want to give contact information to my aide, Brittany and Lisa, and then we will also update the commissioner's office. I just didn't want to do that in the middle of a council meeting. So, but yeah, we will definitely give you guys an update. We do have that information for you, and his office has been in touch with my office. I will also loop in Councilman Gilmore's office because the building is located on in Ward F.
All right, thank you.
But we'll make sure everyone's connected.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker, 5.72, Corey.
Hi, Corey Garriga. I'm here speaking on behalf of Commissioner Bill O'Day, who has been helping these residents of 630 Bergen Avenue. We are here to ask for the amendment on Ordinance 22-091. We're asking that that ordinance be amended to include emergency repairs for elevators as well. The tenants of 630 Bergen Avenue have been dealing with this situation for over 2 years, as you've heard from Salvador. And basically AT&T allowed the property management, the other way around. Property management allowed AT&T to put up cell towers, and it destroyed the structural integrity of the elevator shaft. So these residents have been suffering this for 2 years, and residents with health and mobility problems, senior citizens, garbage being left in the hallways because residents can't take the stairs. In July, when we first went to the building, we saw a woman in her late 70s carry all of her groceries up by the stairs by herself. Other residents have to buy groceries in piecemeal because it's just too much for them to carry up the stairs. We had a senior with the cardiac issues on the 3rd floor who hasn't left his apartment since the elevators went out. And then we also met with a guy who had recently had back surgery, and he was stopping every other floor to catch a breath. All of this went on, like I said, while the property management was collecting a check. Basically, they rent the space out to AT&T, and they didn't want to remove it because then they'd lose that check. If AT&T has to remove it, it costs the property owner $20,000, which some of you have seen already today, by that being provided to Joe Barrow. Amending this ordinance will give other residents in the building in other buildings a solution if they ever have to have that same experience. I'm also calling on the city to do a search to increase the amount of elevator subcode officials. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.73, Steve.
Hello, everyone.
My name is Steve Cunningham. I'm the founder of Team Wilderness, which offers support services to local youth. We serve the kids that need it most to provide equitable access to nature. But here I'm coming tonight as the parent of an amazing kid back there. Oh, we're there. That plays hockey at the rink. I have also coached at that rink. I volunteered at that rink. And I don't know how many times I've taken my son and his friends to do the open skate there on the weekends. That's really my favorite time to go. Of everything that happens at the rink, it's the open skates. And this is because I get to see more of the kids that Team Wilderness works with. For many of them, it's their first time ever on the ice. And it's an important life lesson experience. One where they fall a lot and they have to learn to get back up again. And, you know, it's an experience that every youth should have access to, regardless of whether they care about playing hockey and regardless of what their zip code is. Someone came and spoke early in the night. And they said how they went on their first date at the rink, which made me smile because when you go to those open skates, you can see a lot of first dates, a lot of them. And if you thought seeing like two teens go on a first date was awkward, like you should see it when it's on ice. It is just incredibly awkward. You know, it's really those teens why I'm here and what's in my mind. It's for them that I feel like the lack of the ice hurts the most. You know, why can't they have equitable access to an ice rink? I understand the rink has a lot of issues, and it's not just with the ice, the roof, the lights, the bathrooms. The only public bathrooms are in the locker rooms. So, you know, would you want a random spectator to use a bathroom in a child's locker room? Not a good situation. But regardless of the number of issues, really something has to start moving faster, whether it's fixing the ice while the city procures funds for a full rebuild, or whether the city opens a pop-up rink while renovations are done. Many towns across the state have seasonal pop-up rinks. They put them in parts of the parks that don't get used in the winter. And it's really that speed at which the city moves that's what's most crucial here. I remember a few years ago when construction at the Grove Street Plaza was happening.
Thank you.
10 seconds.
Sorry.
Passed a resolution.
The time is up, sir.
Passed a resolution that it happened in 183 days. We need that will. We need that will.
Next speaker, 5.74, Cooper.
Oh, Cooper, come over here, Cooper.
Oh, come on.
You want to go on your chair or you want me to sit right here? What you want then? Okay, he's gonna take you, okay. Say from the right here.
Hello, council. I am the son of Steve Cunningham, as he just spoke, and I want to make this quick because my bedtime's coming up. And you may think I'm just an unlucky kid that has to come here because my dad was some coach for this team, but I'm willing to come here to try to support the team in the rink, and I think that everyone deserves to be happy and with what they want. And I think that to make this city great, everyone has to be happy, which as the world seems now is impossible. But there's a way that we can be better with that. And I think that, you know, when what my dad said earlier, the Grove Street Plaza was done really quickly. I think that this can be done really quickly too. And I think that if we don't act on this with the way that we can't really decide yet, it's probably just going to be sitting there for a really long time, just collecting dust before we make a decision. So I think that, you know, I think that we should fix it. Thank you.
Good. Great job. Great job.
Amazing, as usual. Next speaker, 5.75, Christian.
Good evening, council members. My name is Kristen Zadroga Hart, and I stand before you today to advocate for my student athletes. I'm currently the athletic director at McNair Academic High School. We currently offer a combined 40 varsity and underclass teams, and over 60% of our students participate in at least one sport during their time at McNair. In my 5+ years at McNair, we have added boys and girls fencing, as well as an esports team. Just this school year, we added ice hockey to our athletic program through an NJS IAA co-op with Bayonne High School. We currently have 10 student athletes who play on the ice hockey team. They actually have a game right now, which is why I am here to speak on their behalf. The additions to our athletic program offerings have happened because of the passion and dedication of our students and parents. For 2 years, the students and parents have been advocating for an ice hockey team. As a cost-saving measure, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Fernandez, agreed to allow us to offer hockey through the co-op system as a way to allow participation while keeping costs at a minimum. The opportunity ice hockey has given to our students in such a short time is immeasurable. 2 of our students have been recognized by NJ.com as being among the best players in the state of New Jersey, and they're only freshmen. This will undoubtedly translate to scholarship offers in the next year or so to play at the collegiate level. These athletes did not learn or hone their skills through any doing of mine or anyone else at McNair. These students were introduced to ice hockey through the developmental program offered at the Pershing Field Ice Rink before it was shut down 2 seasons ago. Because this failure to maintain our facilities, Jersey City residents must now travel to remain involved in the sport that they love. Countless children have been denied the opportunity to be introduced to both ice hockey and ice skating in general. In a post-COVID world, we should be doing everything possible to support the physical and emotional well-being of our children as much as possible, not kicking cans down the road and eliminating opportunities. This goes for the closure of the ice rink, as well as the fact that people cannot use the Pershing Field pool after 4 p.m., apparently due to a lack of functioning lights in the building. If we want to tout ourselves as the best mid-sized city in America, we really have to do better. I hope this body will implore the powers that be to rectify this situation as soon as possible. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.76, Felix. You interpreting?
Yes.
Okay.
Once again, for the opportunity to speak in this council meeting. I'm here translating for Felix Ramos, who has shared his notes with me. Unfortunately, we have had to come back to this meeting as the situation continues with Ramos' parking issue in Jersey City. Last time we were here, we presented the parking issue with the driveway. Purchased this multifamily at almost $700,000 with an existing driveway. After his purchase, neighbors have been blocking his driveway, yet his driveway does not disrupt or disturb any other homes. Renters, most of them, which seems as if they have either part-time jobs or not employed, park at all hours, which usually block Ramos in the morning for hours. Ramos is willing to pay the permits necessary. Ramos is also asking if he can please receive a letter to take to zoning where he can have the permission to legalize the curb cut. Just to reiterate, purchased it this way, and he has to deal with the renters blocking him in his own driveway. Please take into consideration allowing Ramos driveway to be legalized.
What block he live on? Not the exact.
Yeah, no, su bloque, ¿cómo se llama? Imposible. Wait, 59 Wade, I'm sorry, 59 Wade Street.
Wait, okay.
Anything else? That's it?
Yes.
Thank you. He has information. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.77, Josephine.
See, Joseph.
I didn't see her either. All right, our next speaker, 5.78, B. Tanya? Sorry. Not here. And next, 5.79, Lorenzo?
Not here.
Yes, he's right in front of us.
Oh.
Good evening, council members. I'm here for a couple of quick things. The first thing, it's being handed out. If you could hand that out to the council members. It's about the Jersey City municipal taxes. And it speaks to 2022 versus 2023. It was reported in more than one newspaper or articles that there was an increase of 2%. When I looked at the analysis in actual real dollars from 2022 to 2023, $319,566,148.10 versus $349,926,168.84, which is an increase of $30,360,020.74. That is, in fact, a 9.5% increase. I would like to know, why is it being put out there as a 2% tax increase when in fact it is a 9.5% tax increase? Just on municipal taxes, nothing else, just the municipal tax. Number two, well, they left earlier, but I wanted to fully support the people at Portside. I've been hearing and reading about the issues going on with their building. And I think they make a good point about you utilizing the Faulkner Act to put a hold on what's going on. Don't allow those increases to happen, and use that time frame to use your investigative body to do the work, put a freeze on those things, and then when it's over, everything's sorted out, things will fall where they need to go. Lastly, I want to say that I'm looking at resolution 10.08 and 10.09 from the mayor for the cannabis appointments. My question to you about the cannabis appointments is that, are you looking at individuals to see if they have conflicts of interest? We know there were some issues going on in the past with conflicts of interest. I want to know what's being done about conflicts of interest, and are you looking at that intently and then making sure that that's being adhered to? Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.80, Maya.
There. I wanted to apologize for not being here earlier when y'all were discussing the ceasefire resolution for the first time. I recently moved in with a longtime resident who's a relative. And so I'm late, but better late than never. I wanted to come and ask y'all to please reconsider that ceasefire resolution. For context, I'm Jewish. My family is partially Israeli. And when I read the resolution, I was very surprised that it had not succeeded. It was considered anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, anti-Arab racism. It considered all innocent lives and called for a permanent ceasefire and a negotiation to free the hostages and produce lasting political solutions in Gaza and in the region. And I don't know why it couldn't pass. When I asked someone, they thought maybe folks were hesitant to take a stand on an international issue. And so I thought maybe I would just come and speak to that today and say, of course, if Jersey City or Union City or any city here calls for a ceasefire in Gaza, it's not going to happen because a local government called for it. But the place I moved from, Detroit, passed that type of resolution. And if every city across the country passed that type of resolution, it would help those of us who want a ceasefire for the safety of the hostages, for the safety of the Palestinian people in Gaza, for the safety of Palestinians in the West Bank, and for the safety of Jewish Israelis, Druze Israelis, Bedouin Israelis, for the safety of everyone to have peace. It would help create that upward pressure on our federal government, on our Congress people, and on our president, who we've so far failed, to persuade enough in order for that ceasefire to actually happen. And I know that y'all have heard a lot, I'm sure, from residents at those previous meetings about how personal and painful this issue is for so many of us, and especially for your Palestinian constituents. I know you know what is being done to Gaza right now, how dire the crisis is, how many people have been killed, how many people are in danger of dying from starvation, from a lack of water, a lack of food. Palestinian friends with family in Gaza, I don't know if they're still alive. So I know you know all that, and you know how urgent it is, and maybe the hesitation is just, well, what's our role? And to that I would say, there are a lot of immigrants in North Jersey. For those of us who have family who come from someplace else, I think we know the line between foreign and domestic is kind of an illusion. We feel these things that happen in our diaspora every day. And October 7th was not foreign to me. And every day after watching what's being done to my Palestinian cousins in Gaza is not foreign to me. So please take a stand and stand for peace. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, with two speakers added before the meeting started. First one, 5.81, Erica.
Hi, my name is Erica. I'm a resident at 630 Bergen Avenue. I'm here today for Ordinance 22-091 for emergency repairs to amend to include elevators. The elevator has been out for service for 2 years due to AT&T antennas causing a crack on the elevator shaft, and only came back months later to put new antennas up because management asked them to. Yet they have made no attempt to fix the elevators. I have sent emails numerous times inquiring on the status and never heard back on any updates. Do you know what it's like walking up 4, 6, 8 flights of stairs multiple times a day? Having to haul groceries and laundry up 4, 6, 8 flights of stairs. It has taken a toll on my knees for these past 2 years. My husband, who had knee surgery years ago, it also has been a challenge for him, and he may need knee surgery again. And we wonder, how would he manage that with no working elevator? Being forced to walk up 4, 6, 8 flights of stairs daily, 7 days a week, multiple times a day. Did I say multiple times a day? It is exhausting. Even my 11-year-old son, who is here with me today, he's tired of it as well. He tells me, why aren't they fixing the elevator? When are they going to fix it? I have witnessed people abandoning their apartments and moving in garbage bags, leaving everything else behind or in the hallways to avoid carrying it down the stairs. People leave garbage rotting in the hallways because they are just tired of coming up the stairs, especially those who live on higher floors. People have dragged their garbage down the stairs, leaving a trail of garbage on the steps, endangering others of slipping down the stairs. Please, this is just not right. While management only cares about rent, we are forced to live under these stressful, exhausting conditions. It's not right. It's just not right. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker for the night, 5.82, Mayra.
Good evening, guys. I know you guys are tired, but I'll make this quick. Here on behalf of my parents who I have endured hearing them suffer and witness and experience the hardship that they've been having with the issue of these elevators. We've called to place formal complaints to City Hall almost every day this summer, asked firefighter friends, police officer friends, anyone to direct us to the right direction. And finally, we have a platform to discuss these issues on hand. Thank you so much for allowing this to happen. We take the elevator for granted, but it is not a luxury to have a working elevator. It is a dire necessity for the elderly, for moms with carriages, folks who deal with lugging laundry up and down nearly 60 steps of stairs, 8 flights. It is the people from the higher floors that struggle the most, such as my parents. Tenants are persecuted for any late or missing payments, but who keeps the landlords accountable in turn for receiving their payments in full? My heart hurts to see my poor parents have to walk their pets 3 to 4 times a day. Think about going up and down those 4 flights of steps. I can only imagine what other parents and grandparents have gone through for nearly 2 years. We even struggled earlier this year with my niece when she sprained her ankle playing softball, sorry, and had to ensure that she had physical support from family members, making sure that we had shifts of people to help her up and down the stairs. Let me not even get started on hearing my visiting grandmother complain about the nearly 60 steps it takes her to get to my parents' apartment. It also is an embarrassment to have people over and tell them that there is no elevator working, or when people are coming to visit and they have luggages and we're hauling those luggages up 4 flights of steps, all these flights of steps. Please, I ask you on behalf of my parents and all of 630 Bergen Avenue, please get my parents the help they need, the help that should be rightfully provided to them as tenants of over 4 decades. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean, I just want to say that first I want to commend everybody from Bergen and from Portside for coming out. I happen to represent both of the jurisdictions, and I just want you guys to know who don't know that you have a fighter in Councilman Gilmore that's going to stand in solidarity with you guys despite what pushback I may receive or anything like that. It really angers me to see that certain people just think that they're above others and they can do as they please because of their socioeconomical status. So I just want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, with regards to that, and also with regards to the ice rink, I'm extremely perplexed. It is amazing what we can find money for and what we can't find money for. You think the price of repair is high? Wait till you get the bill for rehabilitation, because it is extremely essential for kids to have an outlet to let go. It is important that we make sure we do everything in our power. And our job is to really watch the budget and make sure that, we don't overspend and we're being good stewards of the budget. But it's just some things that you just wish that will get done and get done in a reasonable manner. And that ice rink, man, I come from recreation. I used to work in the ice rink. I seen all of the beautiful programs that came through the ice rink. And we're going to have more meetings with the director and administration. But the reality is Unless and until we start acting like we care about regular, everyday folks, we're gonna be in for a long one.
So let me share something, being that I'm sure a lot of us up here are gonna piggyback on a lot of things here. So let's just speak about the ice skating rink, right? So as a person who was involved and ran a local little league 25 years, right? Started from the bottom of that little league to the top. And when I left it, it was a top of the line little league, and it continues to be. I was at that podium for 25 years. I'm going to be very plain with you, yelling at the politicians up here, and the politicians did diddly squat, right? Zero. So I am going to tell the people out there that there are limited resources that politicians up here and the city is going to do. That's just plain and simple. You need to, as a unit, as a community, get together like what we did with Roberto Clemente. We were playing 1,200 kids in one park in 6th Street. Now listen to this. I'm not advocating for this, but we marched 1,200 kids from 6th Street to City Hall. We made sure that the politicians that were on this dais made sure that we were extremely serious about our kids. One thing I'm going to ask the people on this day is, do not take advantage of kids, have meetings with these kids if you are not going to be behind them 100%. I am going to give, from my office here, I am going to, and it's going to be a drop in the bucket, but we need to make sure that we put our money where our mouths is and give these kids 100% support. Don't say that you're supporting them, rile them up here for sound bites and not support them. That is a horrible thing to do. The reason why I brought those kids up here is to show you that those kids are important and they mean something. Their parents are the ones that came up here, but those kids need us because they're the ones that their parents are telling them, let's go to City Hall because those guys can do something. It's bigger than that. Way bigger than that. Please don't fool these kids. Make sure that if you bring them here, you commit to them. I'm speaking to us up here. It's a drop in the bucket. I am going to commit to $1,000 for that ice skating ring, but I'm going to make sure that from my office, we call whatever news people we need to call. We reach out to the New Jersey Devils the way we should be reaching out. We reached out to Major League Baseball, and Major League Baseball gave us 9th Street Park, and they made a big deal about it. That's what you need to do. So I am urging you, because there was a lot of politicians when I was on that podium that couldn't stand my ass when I was up there talking about them because I knew they weren't doing anything. That is the reason why I ran for council person, so I could make sure that those kids, which right now 212 of them are Jersey City police officers, 106 of them are firefighters, 37 attorneys, and 15 physicians. I'm proud of that. But that community stood strong and did not let those kids down. I didn't count on the politicians. So if we're going to be here to talk about the city and the politicians, make sure you hold the community accountable, hold their hands. It's not an easy walk. It's a rough road, but we can do it. But you got to make sure that you toe the line and that you stay serious and that you're with them 100%. Otherwise, you're just doing smoke and mirrors up here. Make sure you support these kids.
Sean.
Okay. On to our petitions and communications. Any questions or comments on items 6.1 through 6.30? Hearing none, there are no officer communications, reported directors 8.1 through 8.3. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'm going to be taking a vote on claims and addendums number 1 and number 2. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore. Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Claims and addendums number 1 and number 2 are approved 8-0 with Councilperson Solomon absent. On to our resolutions.
Dawn, before I
Yes.
start, I have a question for an attorney. I received a call before we started this meeting from a young lady. She's talking about 1022. She's saying it's a conflict of interest. It's where Dr. Gonzalez serves on the planning board, and then they're gonna make him the head of the Life Mod LLC. She's saying it's a conflict of interest. Is that so?
We don't believe it's an issue or a conflict. It's a renewal.
You know, okay, you're saying it's not a conflict, or because she wants me to get back to her. Okay.
All right. So council members, we're going to be taking a vote on items 10.1 through 10.14. Again, that's 10.1 through 10.14. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore. 10.1 through 10.14.
To the, what is that? 10, 8, and 10. How do we do, because I remember last time when I think Ms. Perkins was up for reappointment. With the Cannabis Control Board, is it typical that we just like reappoint, or like, how does that process work?
You'll see them in tranches because that's how they were appointed, right? We did 2, 2, 1, I believe, as we went along. And it's up to the discretion of the administration through the mayor if he wants to reappoint an existing member or a new member, and then it's presented to the council for confirmation.
10.6, shout out to Lincoln Lions. Thank you, Councilman Rivera, for acknowledging the greatness that comes from Lincoln, my alma mater. So I'm gonna abstain on these appointments, 10.8 and 10.9. I vote aye on the rest.
Abstaining on 10.8 and 10.9 and aye on all the rest, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilperson DeGise.
Aye on all.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Okay, items 10.1 through 10.7 are approved 8-0 with Councilperson Solomon absent. Item 10.8 is approved 7-0-1 with Councilperson Gilmore abstaining and Councilperson Solomon absent. Item 10.9 is also approved 7-0-1 with Councilperson Gilmore abstaining and Councilperson Solomon absent. On to the balance of our resolutions, items 10.15 through 10.23. Again, that's 10.15 through 10.23. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Baggiano.
I'm gonna abstain on 1022 until I get further information. Aye on all the rest.
Thank you. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
I'm abstaining on 10.19 and aye on the rest.
Okay. Councilperson DeJeece, Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman. Items 10.15 through 10.18 are approved 8-0, with Councilperson Solomon absent. Item 10.19 is approved 7-0-1, with Councilperson Gilmore abstaining and Councilperson Solomon absent. Items 10.20 through 21 are approved 8-0, with Councilperson Solomon absent. Item 10.22 is approved 7-0-1, with Councilperson Baggiano abstaining and Councilperson Solomon absent. And 10.23 is approved 8-0, with Councilperson Solomon absent. May I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
So I have a motion to adjourn at 9:44 PM by Councilperson Saleh, and I'll give the second to Councilperson Rivera. On the motion to adjourn at 9:44 PM, Councilperson Ridley, Councilperson Prinzary, Councilperson Baggiano, Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore, Councilperson DeJeece, Councilperson Rivera, and Council President Waterman. Motion carries 8-0, with Councilperson Solomon absent, to adjourn at 9:44 PM. Thank you so much, everyone present, and thank you so much, everyone watching at home. Remember, teamwork makes a dream work. Have a great night.